Sir?
We're going to give it just a second. Sorry. My mistake. Just 30 seconds. All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call this meeting of March 18th, 2025 to order. If you all stand with me, the mayor's going to lead us in prayer and a pledge.
Please bow with me. Lord, thank you once again for the great city that we live in. Thank you for the staff that we have that keeps it moving smoothly. We appreciate all you do for us in our community. We ask that you watch over the council tonight and help them make sound and right decisions. We thank you for the citizens that are concerned about issues and will come to the meeting and voice their opinions. We ask that we maintain civility throughout all. We also thank you for the past week for a successful bunch of events that we've had with no incidences and all glory. And we ask that all we do in your name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the roll, please.
Mayor Shute.
Here.
Carlisle.
Here.
Avery.
Here.
Mendel.
Here.
Stewart.
Here.
Bishop.
Here. All right. If anyone from the audience has something they would like to discuss that is not on the agenda, you can fill out one of the forms on the front table here, hand it in to Clerk Haley, and we will get to you later in the meeting. Mayor's report.
Just a few things in the past week. If you've been around town, you noticed a lot of activity. It was our race week. Went off a wonderful race. It's the largest attendance that they've had at a race. So it was a great week. We had great weather. It was just exciting to see all the people in town, nationally and internationally, that show up for that race. So it's a blessing that we have it. We got to thank Wayne Estes and his crew for just doing an awesome job of entertaining and providing a great source of entertainment for us, and we appreciate that. And also HGTV, if you haven't seen any of the productions yet on TV, we're through the second series, going to 4 more, so it's kind of exciting to sit there and watch. And of course, people like Kevin Roberts, we appreciate your head in the game. So
15 seconds.
you did well. I was 1 second.
12
So
hours, 15 seconds.
That's it.
About the shortest speech I ever gave.
no, they cut you off. So I saw the whole speech, Kevin, so you can't get away with that. So they just cut you off. But it's really exciting to see our town and the way they portray. They kind of, started off portraying us a little as the, few issues, but, when it's Hollywood, it's Hollywood. But when the production came out, they really did a compliment and got a lot of good reviews from the production company personally that said out of the 3 cities that they've done so far, this is the best one they had. The participation from the residents, from everybody in the community, and everybody that had input, and just was fantastic. So I think it's really going to be positive. If you were downtown yesterday and today, they had the Leprechaun in town, so we had a green day and did a good job. But a ton of people drove through town several times today, and the circle was packed with people snapping pictures, so they weren't local. But it's really kind of exciting to do that. Speaking of a couple other events coming up, on the 29th, we have Sipping on the Circle, the Rotary and Art League, have their craft beer festival. It's always a good event, a good fundraiser for both of those. And then on the 5th, the 5th of April, we have the Soda Fest, 5th and 6th of April. So really got some national recognition for that as being one of the top 10 events, ceremonies in the nation. Actually, it was kind of cool to see little different things. Along with Faded Bistro is number 5 for a beer garden in the United States, or I think that was Florida. But so a lot of cool things are happening in our town, a lot of positive things going on. And it's because of our citizens that make it that way, and really appreciate what all you do. I do have another thing that I'd like to do, and I'd like to have Gail Worley, who's the manager of the Children's Advocacy Center, if you'd come up. This is Child Abuse Prevention Month in Florida, and I'm going to read a proclamation. But as usual, this is Child Abuse Prevention Month. If you can see on the circle this month, the lights are all blue. Thanks to Hannah. proclamation reads, whereas Florida's committed to improving the lives of all Floridians and securing a better future for the citizens of this state. Whereas children who have adverse childhood experiences, ACES, that are at a higher risk of short and long-term physical, psychological, and behavioral challenges that can impact the individual child and the greater community. And whereas parents and caregivers who have resources and support are better equipped to give their children safe and nurturing experiences. And whereas children have a better mental health and physical health and academic success when they are raised in a stable, safe, and nurturing environment. And whereas the Florida Department of Children and Families Secretary has a vision for holistic services by integrating systems and services. And whereas the state of Florida has established Hope Florida, a pathway to prosperity, a personalized approach to helping families overcome barriers to self-sufficiency through community collaboration. And whereas Floridians can call 850-300-HOPE to speak with a care navigator for support to develop a plan to achieve economic self-sufficiency, referrals to local partners, and help identifying goals and barriers in their lives. And whereas during the month of April, Prevent Child Abuse Florida, in collaboration with the Governor's Office of Adoption and Child Protection and the Florida Department of Children and Families and the Outset Prevention Fund of Florida, implements Pinwheels for Prevention, a statewide coordinated campaign to raise awareness of child abuse prevention efforts by teaching about healthy child development and positive parenting practices, and establishing circle of parent peer support groups. And whereas Child Abuse Prevention Month provides everyone a chance to learn how they can play a role in preventing abuse and neglect, including adverse childhood experiences, ACES. And whereas Child Abuse Prevention Month reminds Floridians of all ages that they can help increase positive childhood experiences, which lead to happier, healthier childhoods. Now therefore be it proclaimed that I, John Shoup, Mayor of the City of Sebring, Florida, do hereby proclaim in the month of April 2025 as Child Abuse Prevention Month in the City of Sebring, and extend my support to all observing April 25th as Child Abuse Prevention Month in the state of Florida.
Thank you. Thank you, and just briefly, I would like to invite everybody to the kickoff event on April 1st on the Highlands County Courthouse lawn. Starts at 8 a.m., so it's kind of early for some of you, but we'll have some great speakers. We'll have some kids from the RTMA providing some great entertainment, and then when we're done there, we'll walk over to the Board of County Commissioners meeting at 9 a.m. to get another one of these signed by the chair of the BOCC. So last year we didn't have a great turnout. I'd love to see members of the community come and support Child Abuse Prevention Month, ask us questions, see what you can do to help families in need. I'm sorry, I meant to print out the activity calendar for the month, but I went to do that and it said I was out of cyan. And my administrator's gone for the day, so I didn't know what to do. But Mayor, I really appreciate it again you signing this, and thank you so much. Yes. Thank you very much.
I have one other item to do, kind of bittersweet. Where's Shirley Johnson?
Oh, I would love.
Stand right here. There are two troublemakers in Dallas County, but just stand here. For those of you that don't know, this is Terry Mendel. She's been on the city council for 3 years, going for another term, but that's a family issue that came up that kind of forced her to take a different path in life. But I don't think she's going to give up in the city of Sebring. She's been here her entire life, basically. So a little stint in some kind of foreign country, or no, California. Probably, if you don't mind if I read this proclamation. This is our last meeting as an official. Proclamation states, whereas the Honorable Terry Mendel has served as a member of the City Council of the City of Sebring, Florida, from April 22nd through March 25, April 2022 through March 2025, and whereas Mr. Mendel has carried out the duties and responsibilities of the constitutional office for which he was duly elected by the citizens of the City of Sebring with honor and dignity, and whereas she has given unselfishly of her time, energy, and expertise in the best interest of the city and its citizens, expecting little in return other than the knowledge that her contributions have helped to make our beautiful city a better place to live. Whereas the Honorable Terry Mendel, through her exemplary public service, has brought great credit upon herself, her family, and her community. Therefore, I, John Shute, Mayor of the City of Sebring, do hereby proclaim that the citizens of Sebring do convey their sincere respect and appreciation to the Honorable Terry Mendel for her dedication and commitment to the city, its citizens, and the quality of life we hold so dear. So, thank you for all your time.
My turn. Thank you, Mayor. And let it be known that the mayor is a troublemaker.
I learned from the best. So.
He's hanging around me too much. Good evening, council. Good evening, administrators, and good evening in Sebring. You guys are bragging on Sebring, and you have bragging rights. So thank you for all the things you're doing for the city of Sebring. I work for the sheriff's department, so I'm in Sebring too. You know I love Sebring because he loves Avon Park, right, Mayor? Okay.
After Sebring.
Absolutely after Sebring. After Sebring. Miss Mandel, you have been very instrumental in everything that I've done for the city of Sebring, for the county of Howard. Not only Sebring, but Avon Park, Sebring, and Lake Placid. And I want to thank you for all that you do. I'm not going to take long, man. I know you're over there saying she need to hurry up. We got to get to business. But I don't want to forget you. I want you to know that I love you and I thank you for all that you do. You're sitting with a great crew here. They're going to miss you. Don't let them fool you. They make good decisions, and so did you. So I had something very special made for you. I didn't want to show the mayor out. Okay, but it came in a box, but I had to put it somewhere else. Wow. And this is for you. This is a flag. It tells your years of service, and you're always definitely Matthew 25, 35, 36. That's you. You're always thinking about others, clothing them, feeding them, housing them, visiting them. That's what your heart said to do. So I want to present this flag to you with a little special message on the back that was made especially for you. So this is for you, from me, and Avon Park. This is a little more personal. See, Mayor, should call me. So that I do you. Well, Kevin, I won't talk as long as you do, but we can work the rest. I just want to tell you myself because I know how much you love your babies. On the back you can see, blessings abundantly. I always say that. That's my secret to love, surely. But on the front, your baby. Those are your dogs.
Those are my dogs.
Those are your
Yes,
dogs.
thank
You sit
you.
there picking.
Thank
So I want to thank you for all you do. Mayor, I want to thank you for allowing me to say this thing.
Thank
God bless you all.
Go back up. Oh. So you can hold your hands up. Thank you. Are you bringing my proclamation? Ready, 1, 2, 3.
Look at me. Sure. Sure, everyone's here to,
Listen to the mayor.
yeah. All right, council members, reports, Mr. Carlisle.
Well, I'm glad to be back. All them trips to Texas about wore me out. I have to agree with the mayor. I'm excited about downtown. It's really very seldom you go down there, there's not a lot of people anymore, and that's a good thing. Got some, definitely get some good food down there now, so I'm excited about our town.
I have certainly haven't seen it like this in my lifetime. It's
Yeah,
booming.
well, I have, but that was, back when the dinosaurs were on Earth. Yeah.
Ms.
Thank-
Mendel.
Well, I'm very sad about leaving my job at city council. I wouldn't have gone willingly. But my family out of state comes first, and my husband will be delighted. I'm going to cook for him after 3 years of TV dinner, so he'll be excited. It's really been an honor, excuse me, to serve God through serving Sebring and Highlands County, and I've been just loving every minute of the job, even the hard times. I've learned a lot, and I certainly intend to continue being an advocate for our city. And I'm very excited about the things that are happening and the development. And I've appreciated everybody here that's helped me with the job. And I've just had a wonderful time. And so thank you for giving me this privilege and honor to be a city councilwoman. And by the way, my great uncle is on the wall here. About 75 years ago, he was a city councilman. So that's kind of exciting. And Sebring is my hometown. So glad to be here. Thank you all.
No report.
Harrison.
I think this is the third meeting in a row. I was able to look at the consent agenda and point out something that the fire department did. So I just want to say thanks to the team, getting the COPCN application going and taking the next steps to ALS. Very exciting. Going from fire, I would just want to thank, I want to thank the police department. They were able to help me take something off my bucket list. So last Friday, I was able to shoot a taser for the first time. And I was also able to get shot by a taser.
Oh.
If you're ever in a situation that you have the option to listen to the police department or get tasered, I would highly recommend listening to the police department. I can personally guarantee the effectiveness of the purchases of the new tasers that we got. Feel like I took one for the team. You're welcome. So, thank you again. Great experience. Hopefully, never have to do that again. And then I just want to say thank you, Terry. We don't always see eye to eye on everything, but over the last 2 years of serving with you, I just see that you care about the community and the city and the people. And wish you the best in the next season. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is the consent agenda. Does anybody have any questions or comments on any items of the consent agenda? I will ask that you remove item 8D when you propose a motion.
8D.
Yes, sir.
I make a motion we approve the consent agenda as presented, removing 8D.
Second.
Hold the board, please.
Carlisle,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Mendel,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Bishop.
Yes. All right, moving on to item 10A. This is a carryover item from our last meeting. This is to remove the ordinances 1536 and 1537 from the tabled status.
I'll make a motion to request to remove ordinances number 1536 and number 1537 from tabled status.
I second it.
Hold the board.
Carlisle,
No.
Avery,
Abstain.
Mendel,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Bishop.
Yes. All right, moving on to item 10B. We have public hearing and ordinance 1536. I will hand it off to Mr. Swain.
Proposed ordinance number 1356 is on council's agenda for first reading. It's entitled, "An Ordinance of the City of Sebring, Florida, changing the future land use classification for a parcel that totals approximately 1.38 acres, located at 1809 Home Avenue from public to commercial, providing for severability, providing for conflict, and providing for an effective date." I'll also read to you the title of ordinance 1537, the companion zoning change, should council be inclined to approve the ordinances. That ordinance is entitled, "An Ordinance of the City of Sebring, Florida, changing the zoning classification for a parcel that totals approximately 1.38 acres, located at 1809 Home Avenue from single-family residential to commercial, providing for severability, providing for conflict, and providing for an effective date."
All right, thank you. This time I will open the public hearing and invite Ms. Marissa Barmy to come up, give her presentation.
Good evening. For the record, Marissa Barnaby with the Central Florida Regional Planning Council. For those of you who may not know who Central Florida Regional Planning Council is, we are a government agency created through the 5 counties of Highlands, Hardy, DeSoto, Okeechobee, and Polk. We work with the local governments, the county and the local governments, on a variety of different projects. And we, through a planning agreement with the city, assist with the city's planning regional. So this is a request for a future land use and a zoning change for 1809 Home Avenue, and presenting them together since they do tie together, but these would be 2 separate hearings. The property is located at the intersection of Home Avenue and Sebring Parkway. It is currently a place of public assembly. It has a building on it that's a little over 7,000 square feet, as well as a parking facility. The surrounding properties have single family, non-agricultural uses, retail, commercial, which is what's catty corner across Sebring Parkway, and then some vacant and single family uses as well. Next slide. The current future land use is public, and they're requesting to take it to commercial. And the zoning is currently single family residential R1, and they would like to make it a commercial zoning as well. So that structure, which was the Masonic Lodge, could be converted into a commercial use on that site. This is the view of the property from the Sebring Masonic Lodge website. Next slide. This is looking from Google Maps from May of last year. This is looking at the property from the intersection. Next slide. And then this is looking north and northwest of that intersection, where you can see the single family homes across the street, and then the commercial that's catty corner to it. This map shows you the future land use on the site. As you can see, that is public. It has public future land use on that same block with it. Across the street is residential future land use, and then the commercial catty corner to it. Public use is supposed to be for public buildings and private service structures. Next slide. They are requesting to go to commercial. Commercial is what it sounds like. It's to allow uses that are commercial of nature. Also, residential can happen in there. Light manufacturing, wholesale, and warehouse uses, if their impacts are similar to commercial uses. We do an analysis of the existing future land use compared to the zoning to see what the impacts would be. There is not a density or intensity provided in public uses requirement. There is under commercial. So technically the maximum that could happen under this commercial future land use would be 42,078 square feet of non-residential uses, or 55 multifamily dwelling units. That's the maximum that could happen with the future land use. This is your zoning map. Again, this is, shows it as R1, which is similar to pretty much everything that surrounds it. Next slide. This is what the map would look like with this amendment going through, changing this property to commercial, which is at the intersection, similar to the commercial on the intersection catty corner to it. Looking at the zoning, which the future land use is the parent umbrella, and then the zoning has to be compatible, but but provide more detail on what can happen. There, under the existing R1 zoning district, they could build 5 dwelling units. Under the proposed C1 zoning district, they could have 42,000 square feet of non-residential uses, or up to 41 multifamily residential districts. Of course, if they went live local, that would be a different component if they wanted to do residential. The site is currently served by the city of Sebring. If they were to change uses and impact that, then that analysis would happen at the time of request for a change of use. The site is served by a septic tank on its site, so that does limit the development potential of the site to what can be serviced by the septic tank. Any impacts on the site would be looking for potential future connection to wastewater, but right now there's no wastewater available to the site. The site does, or the city does serve the site for solid waste. There was a letter from Highlands County saying that they do have capacity in the solid waste system to serve this property. Public schools is not impacted if it is a commercial use. If they propose residential, then they would have to show concurrency with the school board. Emergency services are located less than a 5-minute travel time of the subject property. The property is at the intersection of Home Avenue and Sebring Parkway. There is access onto Home Avenue. Roads are operating at a level of service A. Future development will require evaluation of impacts. There was discussion, which would happen at time of any type of site plan, of potentially closing that one first entrance to ensure turning movements could occur and not cause interference with the intersection. The recreation and open space, all non-residential development, is required to provide 10% open space. The development of the site would have to maintain that requirement. There is sufficient open space on that site as it exists today. Any recreational development would have to meet level of services as established through the comprehensive plan. This is not located in an environmentally sensitive area. It is not in a high hazard special flood zone. Any development beyond what they have today would require environmental analysis requirements consistent with state requirements. This zoning change is consistent with the request for future land use. The future land use and zoning are consistent with the surrounding areas, and they would, if they were going to do commercial development or multifamily, per our code, they would be required to put in landscape buffers, which includes space and landscaping against the adjacent residential uses and the uses to provide that consistency and compatibility. This is the maps that show what the future land use map looks like existing and what it would look like with this amendment being approved. This did go before the Planning and Zoning Board on February 11th. They did recommend approval to you. Next slide. These are the motion options for your consideration. Happy to stand for any questions, and the applicant representative is in the audience.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Marissa at this time?
Could this turn into a lounge?
Yes,
Then we could have the same potential we had with the old Lions Club.
Correct. You want to come up and speak to that, Dana?
Good evening, Dana Riddell. For the record, I'm with Stonehenge Land Development Consultants. As Marissa mentioned, the owner of this property is the Masonic Lodge, and the applicants are currently in the act of purchasing the property. That would be David Lydell and Will Swain. There are a number of uses that would be allowed if the property were rezoned to the requested zoning district of C2. The applicants feel confident that rezoning this property to allow a range of uses instead of narrowing it to just a few select uses would enhance the property values and be compatible with development just catty corner across the street. Just similar to one day if Dollar General were to close their doors, it's probably pretty similar in size and parking and all of these things. It could have the same potential to be turned into a lounge or maybe something less desirable, but the applicants do not have any intention of changing the use to something that wouldn't benefit the city to some degree or to a lot of degrees. We are asking that tonight a decision be made one way or the other to push this case forward so that we can move forward with the contractual transaction that the applicants have on the table. As Marissa mentioned, there would likely be one of the entrances that would be closed. Traffic impacts are expected to be de minimis because the building is already there. And the size of the site, a lot of the potential uses that could occur on the property are really restricted. And then I also really wanted to emphasize, and I touched on it a little bit at last hearing, but this property does have a public future land use and the surrounding properties. So Marissa, please correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that if the single family home to the north was burned down, it could not be rebuilt without a future land use change. This particular portion of this block of land is slated for items like public offices, jails, parks, schools, playgrounds, recreational areas, fairgrounds, ball fields, auditoriums. These are the types of activities that are slated for the future of this particular area. So we are asking for, again, something that's not residential in nature, something commercial in nature, and something that aligns with the commercial uses just diagonally from this property. Thank you for your time.
So you didn't answer my question.
That it could,
be a
lounge.
lounge.
Yep, just
And
like
we could
Dollar
have the
General.
same thing we had the Lions Club. A mess. Ask the police department.
I have two questions, Dana.
Yeah.
So to clarify, your applicant is not interested in any sort of a plan development, excluding any uses.
Correct.
And are you asking for us to actually vote on this tonight, whether it's going to be voted in or not, or tabled?
We're asking simply that it not be tabled,
Okay.
whether there's an approval or denial, just that it not be tabled.
So even if I'm not going to vote yes, you would like me to put forward a motion to vote no, and that would be better for your uses.
Correct.
Okay.
You know, in giving this matter a lot of thought, first of all, I know the applicants have the best interests of our city at heart. And then also in thinking about the development of our city, the parkway is going to be going commercial all along there with hopefully some protection for the residential areas. But I believe we should vote yes on this because I believe it's going to be good for our city and good for the commercial development along the parkway. The 27 is already kind of maxed out. And as we grow in development, it just seems that it would make good sense to grant them this commercial ruling. So I'd be a yes, but what other questions?
Do you have another question?
I feel the same way I did last time we talked about it. I think there are some uses that are just not appropriate, and I'm okay with many commercial uses there. But a few of them I think should be excluded. And so that's why I would be in favor of a plan development excluding just a very small number of uses.
Does anyone from the public have anything to ask? The astute Mr. Carlson.
Jeff Carlson for the record. I just have a couple of things. I'd like to ask some questions to RPC real quick. You said that the road's current grade A. Does that include Home Avenue from the Parkway to 17? That's currently a grade A in traffic count.
Home Avenue isn't on the county's system.
But this
Or
one
levels,
currently has
yes.
access onto it, so the most appropriate traffic study we would wanna know is what the rating is on Home Avenue from 17 to the Parkway.
Yes, and the traffic study would happen at time of development.
I just wanna clarify, cause you said the surrounding roads were grade A.
Yes, sorry,
Thank
thank
you
you
very
for
much.
clarifying.
I think at the last meeting, one of the commissioners, I believe it was Councilman Havery, mentioned that coming up with maybe having a workshop and talking about planning was a good idea. I also told Mr. Natelick, we've talked about this several times, that good planning is what comprehensive plans are about. Comprehensive means it looks at everything. To me, there's a spot zone. And we referenced the properties across the street, but back in 0405, the council, the commission, the cities, property owners, everybody from Home Avenue north all the way to Scenic Highway, from the lake all the way to Basket Lake, sat down and spent a year with the Central Florida Regional Planning Council. So I'm kind of disappointed in their level of knowledge that they've been communicating as a former chairman of that organization, that we have done that. You guys, not this council, but previous council, took that out of the comprehensive plan. I think it's a good idea to reference back to the North Sebring Sector Plan and look at really good, hard, long-term planning that was done on behalf of this town to try and protect it and the uses. In that plan, the entire area along the parkway was not commercial, but we had good buffer zones. We had C1, we had R3, we had R1A. So we divided it up and had buffers there. So I know it's not part of your comprehensive plan anymore, but the plan was done. The plan, we spent a year at least doing it. And I think it's very important for us to think of comprehensive plan as a comprehensive plan. Look at it long-term, 10, 20 years down the line. What is this going to become? What's going to be there next? If there's a current plan, let's say this is the current plan for this property, and let's put whatever is going to be there and prove it in that way, which I think Councilman Stewart mentioned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can I ask a point of clarification?
Sure.
Home Avenue, was that grade, did you say that was grade A or no? I didn't understand the answer to that. He asked if Home Avenue, if I'm correct, if Jeff asked if Home Avenue was a grade A road?
She does not know. The data
She does not know,
Yes,
okay.
because that's not on the county road.
Okay, that's okay, I just wanted to be, I didn't understand what you said, thank you.
Yes, sir. Come on up and tell us who you are.
For the record, my name is Stanley Epling. I'm a past master and a current secretary of the Sebring Masonic Lodge, which currently holds possession of this property that you guys are speaking of. We started trying to sell our property over a year ago, and because of that, we were told it's going to go pretty quick. It's going to go like this. We're going to be selling it next month. We're going to be selling it next month, and we've heard that for basically a year. Well, unfortunately, we're not allowed or not able to continue with our charitable fundraising events and things like that, because we never know if the building's going to come up and the people are going to say, okay, you got to get out in 2 weeks. So we've kind of had to put our life on hold. And the 2 weeks is just a, for instance. I'm sure they'll give us more time, but we've kind of had to put our activities on hold, not being able to utilize the building for a polling place like we've done for many, 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 many years in the past for both city and county and state official voting times. And, you know, we've not been able to take advantage of those things where we can get a little bit more money and things to help out the Sebring Lodge. So while we're in limbo and while you guys are thinking about it and talking about sending it back to this property or talking about sending it to these people for an approval, we're not doing so well. So I would really like for the board to please consider whatever it takes to be able to go ahead and make the sale go through, because right now you have a civic organization that's in the balance, hanging in the balance. So please, please think about what you're doing tonight. Thank you.
Does anyone else from the public have anything they would like to say? Yes, sir.
Christopher Tuffley for the record. My concern is that we don't really know what is going to go into the place. I mean, it's all, commercial is vague. It could be a nightclub, which I think would be a terrible idea. It could be a store along the line of General Dollar. But I would be much happier. I don't understand why the proposed buyers don't come forward with an idea. beforehand, and just so we could be transparent about what's going to be going into the on the site.
Anyone else? No?
I got another question
Okay, go for it.
for,
We
oh,
go.
let him go first.
Good evening. Matt Christian. I represent the lodge in the sale, and I just had a couple questions for you guys, maybe some clarification. I've looked at the ordinance as far as, I know one of the concerns is alcohol, serving alcohol, liquor, whatever. The city ordinance for that and location to a church, what is that 300 feet?
I don't recall off the top of my head.
Okay, so I don't know if you're aware, the property directly adjacent was sold to a church. So if that church is built, it won't allow for this current commercial building to be able to serve alcohol because of the distance. So you wouldn't have the issue with a lounge or a liquor store or whatever it is that would be alcohol related, because they wouldn't be able to serve. And I believe the ordinance also reads that it can't be grandfathered in other words, once that church is built. It's right there, it's completely adjacent. So I'm not an attorney, it's just Wayne, I know you may know this better, but I believe that prohibits the usage of this building from being a place that can sell alcohol. Like I said, this is just the way I read the ordinance ahead of time. Also, from what I understand, and I don't know what I'm allowed to say, just from my understanding representing the seller, I don't represent the buyer, but from what I understand the uses to be, the way they're going to build it out, it would not be, I guess you would say, conducive for the next future use person necessarily to convert it into a lounge. For example, the Lions Club, I'm aware of what happened there. It was a restaurant. It was leased out to a tenant who then turned it into a nightclub, and I know it caused a lot of issues. I don't foresee this happening because the highest and best use of the property, from what I understand it's going to be as a professional center, it would be very cost prohibitive to take what would be a lot of money in the real estate world, probably well over $1 million by the time you're said and done, to kind of go backwards and change and build out something back to a restaurant or a lounge or something like what you guys may be concerned about. So I do see a couple things there. We can what if this thing to death and say, yes, it could be this or it could be that. I can't speak on behalf of the buyer because I don't know exactly, other than what I've heard through this transaction. But I don't feel the highest and best use is going to be a lounge or a liquor store. You've got one right around the corner, don't you, on 17? The other commercial use, is that not a...
It's in the county.
Okay, but it's right there. So if we're talking about the usage of the residential area, there's already one right there anyway, so...
It's a liquor store. You buy it and you leave.
Right. But I mean, I understand the concern there, but it was brought up last time. I think Josh said, hey, it could be a liquor store. So I just, there's certain things that I think you got to bring, I don't want to say common sense because that doesn't sound right, but the highest and best use for the building would be probably what the buyers are going to use it for, and it would not involve any of the concerns that are being raised here. So thank you.
So can I mention something on that front? To clarify, my issue is not what I think these buyers are going to use it for. I don't think they're planning on opening a lounge or a liquor store. But zoning is forever. It will outlast them. It'll outlast, any of us sitting up here. Once you issue a commercial zoning, that's it. You don't get another shot at it. And that's also why I'm confused by why they would be unwilling to consider a plan development that only excludes those select few uses that we think would be detrimental to the neighborhood, especially if they aren't planning on operating those.
I agree.
And I had another question for Mr. Carlson, please. With that group that you were with, and what was the name of it?
The city council. I
No,
was
not
the city
that one.
councilman at the time.
Yeah, but you said there was a group you were part of that looked at the comprehensive use of
It was the city of it was driven by the CFRPC, the city of Sebring, and Highlands County. It included Avon Park, the county, the city, all of the property owners in that area as stakeholders. Everyone
Okay.
was involved. And we spent a year putting that plan together, and previous council removed it from your comprehensive plan in order to allow Bernie Little to put an industrial use where we had already put, and I spoke against that at the time, we had already put C1 with R3 and R1A behind it as buffers, which is proper good long-term planning.
So
That was
you,
driven by the city council when I was on
When
city
you were on
council and the
city
chairman
council.
of the CFRPC.
so would you, or is your recommendation then to not go with this idea of changing the C1?
No,
I
think
mean,
it-
to C1.
That's correct. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
I think it's a spot zoning, and I think the city should really, and the planning and zoning board was involved in that back then as well, should really take a look at what we're doing comprehensive level, not parcel by parcel. And I think over the last 10 years, the city has really taken a parcel by parcel approach, and I think that's the wrong way to do it. That's not the way comprehensive plans were designed.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And thank you for your service, Ms. Mendel.
Appreciate it.
Anyone else?
I just had a question on that ordinance about the liquor. Is that a 300 foot that they cannot have?
I don't recall, I can, 300 feet. I can look it up.
Because there's already a church there that's up the Parkway.
More than 300 feet, though.
I don't think so.
You know?
I did just look it up, and it is a 300-foot requirement, and it's 300 feet from the entrance of the front door,
Oh, then it'd probably be 300 feet.
and that makes it over 300, yeah.
Anyone else? Anyone else from the public? Nope. I will adjourn the public hearing and entertain a motion.
So if my plan is to vote no, is it easiest to say the requested motion and then vote no, or change the motion to vote not to approve?
You can, I would, if you're going to make an active motion, I would move to deny
Okay.
the request.
All right. I move to deny ordinance number 1536 on first reading. And do I need to schedule a second and final reading?
No, sir.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Hold the board.
Okay, so this is.
And just to be clear, Josh's motion was put forth to remove the request.
To
To deny.
deny the request,
So,
so it will not
So
pass that ordinance.
So a yes vote means no to approving the change.
Yeah, yes is a no.
A yes is a no vote. Okay, everybody clear on that?
Yeah.
Okay. Carlisle,
Yes.
Avery,
Abstain, and for the record too, for the same reason as 10A and business partners with the applicants.
Mendel,
No.
Stewart,
Yes.
Bishop,
yes. All right. Do we need to open
Yes,
up?
sir. I don't know if you need to open up the public hearing for agenda item 10C, but certainly you could consider motions on that if you wish. No one's required to make a motion.
Second motion.
Want to?
However,
I thought we couldn't do 10C if 10B did not.
It would not be wise to pass 10C with 10B not being passed, but
But they could still do, I'm sorry, I misunderstood, they could still do that.
no one has to make a motion. We can, if there is no motion, you could move us on to 10D if you wish.
all right, I'll make a motion to deny ordinance number 1537.
I'll second it.
This is 10C, correct?
Yes.
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
just making sure we're on, okay. You seconded? You seconded?
Yes.
And it was again to deny it? I'm
Correct.
sorry, I was on the other, writing on the other, okay. Okay, so again, a yes vote is a no vote. Carlisle,
Yes.
Avery,
Abstain for the same reasons.
Mendel,
No.
Stewart,
Yes.
Bishop,
Yes. All right. Moving on to item 10D. We have some gentlemen here from Harter Hall that are going to give us a presentation.
Good evening, Mayor Shoup, members of council. For the record, my name is Brian Sykes. I'm an attorney in Tampa, Florida. I represent the principals for the Harter Hall, the Blackman family, which I've had the pleasure of representing for about 7 or 8 years now. A lot of transactions that they're involved in. Just a little bit of background on me. Real estate attorney. I've been involved in numerous golf course transactions, whether it be a purchase, a sale, a management, ground lease. The one thing I can say about golf courses and tell all my clients is they're not for the faint of heart. It's a difficult business to be in, and but my client has made the decision they would like to be in that business. So what our request is this evening is for approval of a ground lease from the city to the principals of the Harter Hall project. The principals, my client would like an amenity to the Harter Hall, historic Harter Hall hotel, and the golf course is a natural amenity to it. You know, you've got a lot of things going on here in the city, a lot of great things. You've got the lake, you've got races, you've got beautiful downtown, and you've got the golf course as well. The Harter Hall, when it's rebuilt to its glory, which my clients are in the process of doing, would be a perfect solution of having that golf course amenity to it. So why a ground lease? Let's talk a little bit about what a ground lease is. And I'm not trying to talk down to anyone, just want to make sure we're all on the same page. Ground lease is where the owner of a land leases the land to a party, and that party is allowed to do improvements to it, have business operations on it. But at the end of the day, the land still belongs to the owner, in this case, the city. That's why we're proposing this type of structure. So why a ground lease? The city will ultimately retain ownership of it. Why else a ground lease? Because the city gets rid of the operating costs associated with it, the liability associated with it, and they have a third party who's responsible for all of that. Nothing's going to change under this agreement. I've had the pleasure of working with Mr. Swain on this and other members of staff, and we have protections built in. It needs to be continued to be operated as a golf course. What we're doing is we're taking away the burden of operating a golf course from the city. So just to kind of give you an idea of going through your 2023 financials that were online, you've got 3 business type activities which generate revenue for the city. You've got wastewater and water, you've got solid waste collection, and you've got the golf course. Of those 3 non-core business related activities, the golf course accounts for approximately 4.3% of the revenues generated by that. But it accounts for 9.5% of the costs. This is directly from 2023 financials. Unfortunately, in 24 financials are not posted yet. But from 2023 financials, revenues are $798,302. Expenses were $1,307,946, which resulted in a $515,437 loss. It's not sustainable to continue those types of losses. In fact, for your 2024 budget, it was contemplated that you would have a $249,000 transfer from the general fund just to provide funding for the golf course. What's that turn into? You've got a negative cash flow in 2023 of $272,000. So in other words, you can't bring the cash in quick enough to pay the expenses. So that you've got to go somewhere else within the city budget to get those funds. What we're proposing is that, number one, under the ground lease, the tenant would have to be affiliated with the Harter Hotel. This isn't a bait and switch. This isn't a, hey, let's come in, steal the golf course, walk away from the hotel. Not part of it. It's going to be part and parcel. The golf course will be an amenity to the hotel. And the hotel and the golf course together will become a resort amenity, which will hopefully draw more people here to the city. Second thing is, the tenant, my client, would operate and be 100% financially responsible for the golf course. The city's not coming out of pocket for one thing. If they have an operating loss, it's on them. If they have to fund deficits because of the cash flow is not sufficient to operate the golf course, it's on them. It's not on the city. It's not coming out of the city's dollars anymore. The tenant would be responsible for making improvements to the golf course and for insuring the golf course. And essentially, the city would have zero obligation whatsoever with respect to the golf course. Why would my client do this? They want an amenity to bring additional people to the Harter. They want to be able to be involved with the golf course. Not saying that the city hasn't done a good job of maintaining it. The course looks great, but they need to have improvements to it. And what happens when there needs to be improvements to the course? You got to go in and find the money for it in the budget. That means something's coming out of this pocket, something's coming out of that pocket. These guys, they're going to be responsible for all of that. Mr. Swain and I built in some protections on the agreement that they have to maintain it. It has to be in as good as condition, if not better than it is. They have to put a capital investment in it. And it's also contingent upon them putting their major capital investment into the Harter Hotel. I know that's been a little bit of a slow process. I was talking about with my client this afternoon. I had the pleasure or displeasure working on a similar type of project in Tampa where a client bought a cigar factory and it was on historic register and he didn't realize what he got into. When something's designated as a historic property, you've got to follow the period style. You can't just go in and put in vinyl clad windows. They're going out and getting specialty windows. They're replacing the barrel tile roof. That place will be returned to its former glory. It's just taking a little bit of time, unfortunately. But I know my client wanted to say a few things, and I'll go ahead and turn it over.
Thank you very much to Brian Sykes, our attorney, and for the record, Robert Blackman, 3141 Gulfview Road. Before I go on, I do also want to acknowledge Councilmember Mendel. Thank you for your service to the community. You've been a great cheerleader for the town, and it's been an interesting thing to watch. I mean, driving around the circle today, how things are going in this town. But council members, it's an honor to come before you today to request approval of our lease agreement for the golf course adjoining Harter Hall. I'm appearing on behalf of the ownership group of Harter Hall. To clarify, there are 4 members of the hotel ownership group: myself, my father Jim, my mother Carol Lee, and my sister Heather. This is a family project and a family business. We look forward to continuing moving forward to make the Lakewood Terrace neighborhood a better neighborhood for residents, and Harter Hall an attraction that both residents and visitors alike can enjoy. This vote is a long time coming. When my parents and I first visited Sebring to tour the hotel, we realized immediately that to be viable, Harter Hall needed to return to its roots as a resort, not just another hotel. If done properly, we knew that it could become a destination resort in the state. We attempted to contact ownership of the now abandoned Harter Hall golf course. However, the previous owner had closed the course due to lack of income and the exorbitant cost associated with running the golf course. Competition was also a factor. Sebring and Highlands County are blessed to have 14 golf courses available to play. In fact, just last week, I received an unsolicited call from a real estate agent offering to sell me a golf course in Sebring. It's a competitive market to operate in. I've been told multiple times over the years, and City of Sebring budget statistics will show, that the current municipal course has not only never derived a profit in its history, but has in fact operated at a loss, creating a massive annual taxpayer subsidy. To quote the 2023 City of Sebring final report, the most recent one available online, quote, the golf course fund reflected an operating loss of $515,437, which was an increase from the prior year of $416,884. In the FY 2024-2025 approved budget, there is an estimate of loss for this fiscal year for a net negative income of $83,241. In other words, income from the current golf operation does not cover expenses. Every taxpaying property owner in the city of Sebring is currently paying to operate the golf course, whether they use it or not. In the age of government efficiency, most levels of government are more than happy to cut their losses to redirect funds towards their core missions of infrastructure, public works, and public safety. Today, we are offering to assume responsibility for the course, including covering all maintenance, salary, and capital improvement project expenses, while enhancing the course for the enjoyment of residents and visitors, while removing the annual taxpayer subsidy. The people of Sebring will continue to have a golf course, but will not be on the hook for the negative expense to run it, nor will government be forced to compete in the free market with the 13 other nearby courses. This is a win-win for all. Today's agenda item should come as no surprise to our elected and appointed friends of the city of Sebring. Rewind back to April of 2022, before we even had a contract to purchase the hotel. We met with Mayor Shoup, City Administrator Natelick, and Attorney Swain to ask if it would be possible to assume control of the golf course. We explained at the time that we did not see the hotel project being viable without golf. There are too many newer, bigger, flashier hotels in the state of Florida, in towns with bigger marketing budgets than the city of Sebring, to compete with. Our business plan focuses on amenities, service, and quality. We were told at the time that no one foresaw any issues with the idea. For 3 of you council members, I've had one-on-ones expressing our desire for this long-awaited vote since 2023. We were told we should wait until there was more progress showing on the hotel, but that there was no issue with the underlying request. At this point, we have an 8-figure investment in counting the project. The time is now to formally approve what has been discussed for so long. When we purchased the Harter Hall Hotel, the Highlands News-Sun had recently run a front-page article titled, quote, "A Wrecking Ball for Harter Hall." The previous owner had announced publicly his intention to demolish the structure. It was not financially viable, the owner said at the time. You have previously seen me come before this council with updates on the status of the renovation. However, we have never come to you to ask for any assistance, financial or otherwise, whatsoever on this hotel renovation. We purchased the hotel with our own money, no subsidies. To date, we've invested approximately $10 million into that project. While hotels such as the Nansesewee, the Santa Rosa, and the Kenilworth were offered large cash subsidy amounts for the renovations, we have come to you and asked for nothing, nor has any incentive ever been offered. In that time, the Nansesewee and Santa Rosa have been demolished due to neglect. But we have worked tirelessly to save a hotel that's demolition had been announced, a foregone conclusion. Not to show quick progress, but to do things right. It is unconscionable how former owners of historic buildings in town have behaved. We are sorry this town has had to deal with the heartbreak on those projects. To that end, we have completely replaced the roof decking of the hotel and most of the roof trusses. They were unsafe, not to code, and supported by nothing. They collapsed as we removed the layers of tile, which did not match the historic style of materials anyway. Our construction team is currently in the process of the final touch of the multi-million-dollar roofing project. Installation of imported multicolor clay tiles, which actually began today. You guys should drive by, it looks pretty cool. They match the original color scheme, but tile of this quality has not been attached to the hotel in over 75 years. We have spent huge amounts of money stabilizing the foundation, pouring new footers and underground supports. Why had nobody done this to the hotel before? Anyone should have been aware of the issues. To us, quality progress is more important than lipstick projects. We've spent countless hours designing and receiving feedback on window replacement. The current windows on the hotel are not historically accurate. We received the, quote, okay for 75% of the window package, but for 25% we're still working to get approval from both manufacturers and historic experts. Many of the floor joists and subfloors inside the hotel were rotten, damaged, or missing. To date, on this task alone, we've spent over $400,000 in labor inside the hotel replacing and reinforcing flooring. That is not inclusive of our expense for our architectural team, our engineering team, and others working on the project. None of this may be visible to the general public, but is an important aspect of the renovation. We last week signed a contract to have all the grand doors replaced. We for months attempted to design modern metal frame doors to save on time and expense. But we were advised that they would not truly look the same. We are now committed to having all grand doors in the resort handcrafted in wood with hurricane impact rated glass. This is an extremely expensive project in and of itself. However, we want quality. For us, this is a generational pride of ownership project. Starting last Wednesday, a team has been on site doing 3D scans of the entire building as we've begun the planning and design phase for interior renovations. Just the scans are expected to take the team 6 weeks, as every single surface in the entire hotel must be scanned to create an accurate floor plan. We've attempted to be good neighbors. That is why, last year, we spent over $80,000 on site work to clear the overgrowth from around the site and pick up trash. We hired a team of licensed arborists to clear back the acreage and have had it regularly mowed since. We separately paid a team to clear the site of debris. We've been open and available with the community. I have never turned down a request to speak at any civic organization or event. Many Sebring residents will attest that I always respond to the outreach of strangers. Not out of obligation, this is a free market construction project. but out of compassion for the community. We understand the hotel is of great interest to others, so we are happy to share information. But we do not want that to confuse the fact that we have never received nor been offered any subsidies whatsoever on this project. In fact, when we purchased the hotel, we paid off 3 years of unpaid property taxes, totaling approximately $150,000, while beautifying the neighborhood. Our taxes have continued to rise with each bit of additional work. Our presence has been a coup to the budget of the city of Sebring. So, why do we want to assume responsibility for a golf course that loses money when there are so many competing courses nearby? Because we always understood that as a resort we could compete, but not simply as a hotel. To quote the June 1990 National Register of Historic Places application for Harter Hall, quote, "Grandiose in conception, Spanish in design, and almost wholly out of scale with reality and commercial possibility, the building raised local expectations to new heights, but soon fell victim to the real estate bust of 1926 in Florida," end quote. While we want to honor history, we do not want to repeat it. And we know that to have commercial viability, Harter Hall must become the destination, stay-on-site resort it was always intended to be. That is also how the formation of the current city-owned course came about. Original owners and developers Lewis Harter and Vincent Hall donated the money for, financed, and constructed a clubhouse along Highway 27 for the 9-hole municipal golf course. This is shown on Plat recordings from the time as next door to what is today a city fire station. When Harter and Hall went bankrupt on the hotel in 1926, before completion and opening of the resort could occur, an ownership group from the Northeast bought the project out of bankruptcy, including Pennsylvania Congressman Edgar Keese. But the group acknowledged that a hotel of its size could not compete without golf and amenities. The September 12, 1927 issue of the Tampa Daily Times explained, quote, "The City Council has assured Congressman Keese and Mr. Thompson of every cooperation possible in the promotion of their plans." 1 week later, on September 19th, 1927, it was announced, quote, "The financing of Harter Hall on the south shore of Lake Jackson has been completed, but the financiers are now holding up the proposition pending a request that the city of Sebring expand the present 9-hole municipal golf links to an 18-hole course. The municipal course is adjacent to the hotel property. The city council will submit the proposition, which would cost approximately $25,000, end quote. Inflation adjusted, that figure would today total a $458,000 expense to the city. The hotel ownership gave, for free, additional land they owned to the city of Sebring to complete the construction of 9 more holes. They did this because they wanted to have a golf course, but did not want the expense of maintenance. They held the city of Sebring to a contract to build and maintain the golf course at their expense, not for the benefit of the citizens of the city, but rather for the benefit of their investment team, knowing how much hassle and expense goes into golf course management. We come today to ask approval of this contract. As you may or may not know, this is not an unusual agreement. Previously, the Sebring Golf Association managed the course for decades in the same manner we are requesting today. However, they returned the responsibility back to the city of Sebring due to the cost burden being too great. Since 2022, we have been privately assured of the fulfillment of our vision to reestablish the historic connection between the golf course and the Harter Hall Hotel. We have spent millions of dollars, 8 figures and counting, to improve and preserve the hotel. Not to flip it, but to make sure it is a safe, secure, structurally sound, and ready for another 100 years. We have poured money, time, and trust into the city of Sebring, but we cannot continue to operate on a handshake any longer while taking further financial risk. The decision today is about what is best for the taxpayers of Sebring, what is best for the future of the community, and what is best for the course. We are willing to further assume financial downside, allowing room in the city budget for other important projects. We intend to preserve and enhance an asset that is a relic from a time when the hotel was the gem of the city, that when closed was left as a drag on city finances, but due to an agreement made with hotel ownership 100 years ago, the city has been forced to maintain. Reassuming control of the golf course will free the city of that obligation. You have seen contained in this lease, specifically in paragraph 7, language that expresses our intentions to retain all current staff in place, as well as continue the current lease with the Caddy Shack restaurant. We want to gradually improve the product, not completely start from scratch. We think that the hands-on knowledge and experience of current staffers will be vital moving forward, and that to this end, we have met multiple times with new course head Fred Tucker to discuss a shared vision. We also intend to quickly get to work to improve the drainage of not just the golf course, but the entire neighborhood. Over the last few weeks, I've been sent many photos by neighbors showing the immense flooding that occurs in the Lakewood Terrace, Harter Hall neighborhood during peak rains. The golf course itself had to delay its quote grand reopening celebration due to being flooded out by rain, and was subsequently, closed for days, while other golf courses in the area were able to reopen immediately afterwards. There is much work to be done, not just for golfers, but for the nearby residents to improve quality of life and preserve and enhance property values for the nearby community. We are excited to get to work doing just that, in collaborative spirit as we've been doing now since 2022. We pledge to honor all commitments previously made with the Sebring Golf Association. That is explicitly called out in the lease, specifically in paragraph 10, which reads, quote, "Tenant agrees to honor the pricing and benefits for current members of the golf course, as well as for Sebring Golf Association members, as described in that certain agreement, the members' agreement, between the City of Sebring and the Sebring Golf Association, Inc., dated November 16, 2004. My entire family has taken a massive leap of faith investing in this hotel and the City of Sebring. We love it here. That is why we've sponsored events, fundraisers, nonprofits, and spoken to many groups and individuals. That is also why I've worked so hard to bring my friends and colleagues to Sebring, promoting the town I believe so much in. But we are realistic as well. We started this journey with the vision of a world-class resort. We know it can be achieved, but not without investment into the projects we deem necessary to compete at the highest level. We never would have begun this journey without believing it could come to fruition, and we did so with the expectation that we would have the chance to upgrade an aging course in need of assistance. We thank you for your consideration. We're happy to answer your questions. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Robert. Anyone from council have any questions or comments? Robert.
I have comments. I began about 3 years ago to be on city council, and I watched the Blackman family. They were like an answer to prayer to come in to save Harter Hall, which we had no hope of saving, and to do it with the top quality. And I really was not sure I was going to speak, but I'm just so impressed with the Blackman group and their dedication to our city and their dedication to doing everything in the very best way, the very best quality. And I have worked with Robert and his family on quite a few of their ideas for the city that have brought absolutely no monetary gain to their family, all because they wanted to help Sebring. And I do truthfully believe they're extremely good for Sebring now and very excellent and good for our future. And I have really mulled this over about the golf course. I did see with my own eyes that they were led to believe they were going to get this golf course as part of the resort package, because just like Robert said, just having a hotel is not competitive. Knowing Robert and having worked with him over these last few years, he's a competitive guy in a very good way, but he desires to make that golf course and that hotel to be top tier, just the very best. And I'm so impressed with them, with the whole family. And I really would like to see this go through. Not only did I watch and see that the Blackman family was led to believe that certainly was a possibility, a very probable possibility to get a resort with the golf course involved, but we have a tremendous problem, as he said, he alluded to, with drainage for that golf course. It just literally becomes a swamp when they have too much rain. And Robert's group is going to come in, and he and I have talked about this with a lot of the other city people. He's going to come in and he's going to totally rework the land, which is going to take a huge amount of money to make the golf course a premier golf course, and the Harter Hall and the golf course really a destination resort that Sebring can be very, very proud of. But not to underestimate what it's going to take to redo the drainage issue on the golf course, because our city, we don't have the budget or the appetite to invest that kind of money. And it really needs to be done to become a top flight golf course. And I'm just so thankful to the Blackman family. I personally, and a lot of people up here, have invited Robert to speak at events. He's always shown up, and I appreciate that so much. He's tremendously invested in our community, not just because financially he hopes to make Harter Hall a beautiful place. It's going to take years before that place turns a profit. And every time the Blackman family turns around, there's another problem that comes up because of the age of the hotel and because it was left to really languish and be open to the weather and the elements. And they have stayed steady with doing the very best work that they can do to have done. And those tiles, I made a joke, those tiles that are up there, they didn't come from Home Depot or Lowe's. They came from some European, I think Spain is what you told me. They're beautiful. They just, every morning when I get up and I look at Harter Hall, which I can see from my house, it's just beautiful. I had cried along with everybody in this town. We did not think Harter Hall could be saved. And then the Blackman family came in here. Not only that, they are bringing all kind of amazing investment people here that are going to be developing our town in a very good way, that are the same kind of quality people that the Blackman family are. I know I sound like an advertisement here, but I am so excited about the future with the Blackmans involved. And I believe that we should, as you can see, I'm totally in favor of this. The Blackmans have, I know Robert is looking to move here, and they are sad about some of the things that have happened at St. Pete, and they see the potential here. They want to be part of the development, and they want to help Sebring not make some of the mistakes that were made in St. Pete. And he has assured me that their family wants only the best quality places and family-friendly businesses here. The Wachovia building, they're already working on, they've secured people that are going to come in. They're already starting the build out. David Lydell called me this afternoon. He sent all of City Council and the mayors a fabulous letter about how proud they were to be affiliated with the Blackmans, and they were very pleased with the work he's doing on the Wachovia building. And there are other investments that are going to come in here. They're waiting to see what happens here with our city's our city having an environment to help people like the Blackmans, quality people that are coming in. And what they're asking for is exactly the same thing that our city's been giving to through the CRA and our city council to other businesses like the Roanoke Hotel, the 301, Sophie's Cafe. It's just amazing the level of people, including sports possibilities, very big sports possibilities. David Lydell and I are working together with Robert on some educational improvement ideas. Robert's introduced us to Kathy Wood, who's a very influential, wealthy influencer, national influencer. We're meeting with Fred Hawkins from the college. We're looking, all of these hours worth of time Robert's put in on helping our educational improvement here. He's not going to be benefiting from that. We need to be encouraging, coming alongside, doing everything we can to make some of the vision that he has come true for our little city. So obviously I'm very in favor and appreciative of the Blackman Group.
All right.
I got something to say. I won't be as long-winded. I am thankful for the Blackmans and bringing Harter Hall back. Not too long ago, we all sat up here and agreed to give Fred Tucker the money to bring our golf course around. He's done a wonderful job of it, and we just haven't given him the full benefit of the doubt. He's brought the golf course around. It looks way better than it did, and he's working hard at it. And I know, Robert said that they would keep on the city employees, but they will not have their benefits. They won't have their retirements. They won't have their insurance. Our obligation is to them too. So I would rather see the Harter Hall open. I don't know why we can't work out something where we could give them vouchers so they can have the use of the golf course until they're up and running. You know, I just think we owe Fred and our employees a lot more thought than we may be giving them. So at this moment, I'm not for. And it's $1 a year, and I've never been in favor of leasing anything that the city owns for $1 a year. Because I'm not saying they will, but everybody we've leased to, they sign a contract saying they'll do everything, and every time they need money, they come to us. They at least pay half. So that's what I say.
So I'm also very appreciative of what Robert and his family are doing out at Harter Hall. It is a tremendous project. I'm sure they have, you're 8 figures in. I'm sure you've got a lot more to go, and you're probably more anxious to get it open than the rest of us are. And I'm very interested in assisting, and you know, through working something out with the golf course, through tax incentives, through, you know, whatever means where we could encourage you to continue. But I don't think I'm in favor of voting for this specific agreement this specific night. There's a couple, you know, issues I have with the lease, and part of the deal up here, and this is the first time at a public meeting we've ever been able to talk about this.
Correct.
You know, I know it's been, you know, maybe worked through staff or through lawyers on the back end, but this is the first agreement that I've personally ever seen. And I think it's going to take some time for council to work through what we are willing to vote for as a group. I don't want you to read that as no forever or discouragement from what you're doing. I'm very in favor, and I think you guys are doing a great job out there. A couple concerns I have with this particular proposal is even if Harter Hall was never finished, you would still have the lease for this for up to 99 years. That's a little problematic to me. And there's you know, a couple other little smaller things. The drainage parcel, you know, I feel like we probably need to flesh out how that works out a little bit better, because, you know, we can't expand our fire department there, or our water facilities, if we give that up. And a couple other little things. I don't want this to read as not being a partner, you know, or not interested in the city being a partner to what you're doing. But I would be more in favor of scheduling some sort of a workshop where we could take some real time, you know, with you and talk through what an agreement might look like that we would all be willing to vote for, or what other options might be available.
Same with council. Thank you for the investment that you have in Harter Hall. I could imagine the frustration of having conversations with different councils, with different people throughout the year, without the years, and kind of we're at this spot right now. And I feel like we're just at a spot too of, I don't want this to be, we're closing the door or opening. I hope this is the start, that we can have some really good conversations to figure out, based on the contract that really we just got last week, what can we do to work together on a lot of these things. I have some concerns with the contract and the lease as presented. I don't think now is the time or the place to discuss all of those concerns and going through it detail. I would agree with Josh. I think a workshop could be really beneficial to working together on this and seeing what the future of the golf course is. And I think as a council, we need to determine, are we in the business of running a golf course? And I agree with Leonard. when we brought Fred on, Fred said, "Hey, I'm going to make this a beautiful golf course." And Fred, you and your team, you have made a beautiful golf course. I've been out there I don't know how many times, and every single time without fail, it's looking better and better. There's more improvements. There's more tangible things going into the golf course. I'm just incredibly grateful and thankful for you and the team and the blood, sweat, and the tears and pulling together to make it what it is now. And you're not done. You're going to keep on going and make it even better. We brought up some drainage concerns. For about a year, I worked in one of those duplexes, and about every time it rained in the summer, I saw a massive pond. On a side note, a lot of the tenants loved the pond because it brought all the ducks, and it was great to feed the ducks. Now, we had a drainage issue during a massive storm, but I mean, I haven't seen that problem, so I just want to give credit where credit is due. If you have done a lot of work in that specific area, in that drainage field, I don't want that to go unsaid and unnoticed. I don't want anything that you and the team have done to go unnoticed. I'm grateful and appreciative of everything that you're doing. I'm thankful for everything that you guys have been doing. You have, I don't know if you guys know this, but Robert is the author of the Wikipedia page for City of Sebring. He cares about our city. He cares about the direction that we're going in. He sees a potential. He sees an opportunity. He sees a really nice city and wants to invest in it. And I'm thankful for what you're doing here. So again, I don't want this to be a door closed. I want this to be the first time that we can really sit down and say, and not have any conversations one-on-one, or this is the understanding of 3 years ago. I mean, we're even, Terry, this is last council meeting unless something crazy happens, and we're shifting gears April 1st. So to make a decision now with things shifting, it's something to consider too. And I know I'm going a little bit long too. Every time I go talk to Robert, he gives me a kind of a little bit of a history lesson of the golf course, so I always learn something new. And to think that that's 100 years ago, and for us to have a potentially 100-year lease right now, I just got some concerns with what's going on. But I want to continue to look at how we can work together, what the future of this partnership looks like. And I think we can, as a council, should be able to give good direction when we all can sit down and have a longer conversation about what all this looks like. And I think right now, just based on conversations I've had, especially with Fred and the team, I would just want to give maybe a little bit of guidance to, or maybe say, I want to keep on moving forward. I don't want to step back from any of the progress that we have made at the golf course. We have budgeted a disc golf course. We have a potential to generate more revenue for the city and add what I look at as a minimal cost. I think that's something that we've been kind of putting on the back burner. But until we can work out a deal, I'd say let's give Fred, let's give the team the best opportunity to make this successful. To be honest, sitting up here, I'm okay if the city loses money on a golf course, because we're not really losing money. We're giving back something to the city too. We're giving a place for people to be involved, to go golf, to go hopefully play disc golf, to utilize public space well. And there's a cost to that. There's a cost to City Pier. There's a cost to Max Lawn. There's a cost to everything that we do. But that's what our responsibility is as a city, and that's what taxpayers do. You pay for the ability to have places to go. That's where I'm at with all of that. Fred, thank you. Robert, thank you. Thank you for you and your team. I'm looking forward to seeing what the next steps could be and working together.
Yeah, this is not an easy decision to make on any standpoint, from the city standpoint or from the Blackman standpoint. They've done a great service to the city about stabilizing Harter Hall. Many of you have seen it standing for years, and we've had some great developers come in from Miami and bring his design team in and his old Lincoln Cadillac and close the city for $4 million loan and take $1 million off the top of this thing and just disappear, and actually trash Harter Hall further, didn't stabilize it. The work that they've done and invested in that, if you take a look at it, they have stabilized that building. They've dried it in, they've got everything shuttered. So hopefully it continues on to be the building itself. From the golf course standpoint, I think it'd be an asset to the Harter Hall, also to the city. The decisions that have to be made are both economic and social. That's something I agree that with you guys that we need to discuss further and really have a plan to see what we want, what the city wants, what the residents want with going on. So it's very encouraging to see what they've done to Harter Hall, if you haven't been by there, and just to stabilize that building itself for the future. And if we can bring it around to be a Class A hotel, it's really gonna be one huge asset to what's already started developing and changing in Highlands County itself, so. I'll agree with you guys that I think it really, to me, it's not a yes or no situation at this time. We need to move forward and find the best way that for the city to be enhanced by what the Blackmans have started to do. And they just have not come in and put lipstick on the pig, I guess you could say that. At least they put a hat on it. And it's moving forward. They continue on. They've got the windows on order. They're waiting for, I guess, the bats to leave so they can termite it. And that's some of the issues that they have. It's not like they came in and just put some paint on it and did it. They've done structural improvements to the building itself. So, but again, like the golf course decision, I mean, it's the history of Sebring, and they're not taking away the history of Sebring. They're enhancing it. There's a lot of stuff that's going to have to be done. For those of you that play out there, look at the golf cart paths. That's another financial burden. It's going to be the city's responsibility if we hang on to it. Like you said, it's a cost. It's a taxpayer cost. And this may be an efficient way and a great way, especially if they're going to honor what is out there already as far as what memberships are going. The staffing is there. It's a better way than having to come in and say, hey, let's just sell the course to somebody that we don't know that's not really invested in our city. So,
All right. I think I'm going to open it up to public questions or comment. Yeah, go ahead, Robert. Sorry. Just a moment, guys. Yeah.
And we thank you very much for the thoughtful discussion today. We're happy to finally be discussing, in the sunshine, so to speak. But just to answer a couple questions that came up, Councilmember Carlisle, we love everything we've seen at the golf course recently. All the changes have been positive. We're immensely thankful to, head Fred Tucker, and we're thankful to the staff. That's why, we put in the contract. We want to try and maintain everybody we can, because we know that any new business venture is scary, and there's a reason that there's a loss right now. We think that we don't want to lose the institutional knowledge, because we want to mitigate losses, right, and try and help the course in general, but with a budget that is probably superior to what council's going to want to do moving forward. And it doesn't matter if it's this council or another council. There's a historical track record of massive losses, and there's never been an exception to that rule in history. And we can hope that there will be a reduction, but a lot of stuff's been tried over the decades. And that course, the one thing that stayed constant, councils have changed, mayors have changed, that course has lost money. And we cannot ever change it from a golf course. So, back to the $1 a year, which is what the offer is, it's really tough to put a value on an asset that has no redevelopment possibility by deed, but that also loses massive amounts of money and has deferred maintenance. So you got kind of a triple-edged sword here, where it needs money right now, it doesn't make money currently, and it can never be anything but a golf course. So that's why we're trying to do this as an incentive for the city, but the incentive for us is we get a better quality golf course. I've had friends of mine, we've played it, and one of my friends walked off the course and went home because he said, it needs more. And we are super, super thankful for everything that's been done, but I don't think it's a staffing problem. I think it's a budget problem. More money needs to be invested, and we need to give more ammunition to the people who are out there now to make it a great course. The structure is not unusual because it's been leased out before to the Golf Association. But we just really want to say, I guess, we are super thankful for this, and we would welcome a discussion further. But just to be completely candid, we never wanted to get into the business of owning a hotel. We always wanted to get into a business of owning a resort, because we do not want to compete with any of the neighboring hotels. It's a losing proposition. The True, the La Quinta, Residence Inn on the Lakes is one of the finest, well-tuned hotels I've ever seen. That is not the bracket we want to be competing with. We want to be competing with the hotels and the resorts in the state that are noteworthy, so that maybe you have an 80% quality of the Breakers, right? Or the Vinoy. But if you have a 15% price tag of them, visitors from out of town will be much more incentivized to come to Sebring, right? That can be kind of the marketing budget is we're going to have a good resort at a fraction of the cost of other resorts. We do not want to compete with local hotels. We want to compete with resorts, and that was always our intention. And we knew going in that we needed a golf course. None of us thought it was commercially viable before we even had a contract. So I guess what I'm getting at is we would request that this be sped up, this discussion, just because we really do need some clarity ourselves. We've really taken a risk on a town we believe in financially, but case in point, we didn't have to do clay tiles. Could have done concrete tiles, I could have done shingles. It depends on the caliber you're trying to compete at, and we need to know what our competition is going to be. Without truly a golf course that we can enhance, we're going to have to tweak a lot of the stuff in our business plan. You know, we would go back to the PTAC units, the wall units, as opposed to central AC. I would forego impact windows and just get double pane windows because there is not a wind code requiring impact windows in Sebring. We would go with vinyl over matching original materials, or even the wood doors, which would save us an immense amount of money. The wood doors themselves will end up costing us nearly $1 million. So we need clarity, I guess, on our end, so we can figure out our map going forward, because we've gotten a lot of the messy work done. We're ready to really accelerate this thing, but we need to know what direction you guys do feel that you want to go. And if, frankly, you guys feel that Harter Hall is an important asset for the city of Sebring, and do you think moving forward it's something that should be supported like previous councils have done for 100 years? And to table said, this is a building that's been closed since 1986. That's 39 years ago. I was born in 1989. This has never been open in my life, and we are doing everything we can to make this thing reality. And this is the first ask, I guess, but it's also really, we think, a benefit to the city because we're removing the downside. And you know, one of the articles I pulled up said you can get sued, there's liability. We're taking all of that away. But what we're trying to do is we want to enhance the golf course so that it'll help the hotel and make it into the resort we're hoping it'll be. So.
And Robert, I've got a question about the lease. That's got a clawback in it that if you did not perform, then it would revert back to the city. Is that not correct?
Correct. Yes, absolutely.
During the term of the lease.
During
yes.
the term of the lease.
Not if it were sold.
So if during the term they stopped operating the golf course, if they did not maintain the operational covenants of it being in good condition, better condition, then yes, it would revert back. And if I can take just a second to kind of tie on to something there. One of the things that we've got in the agreement is a plan that would be put in place by Robert and his family for improvements for the golf course. So this is not just a open, gee, we're going to go do improvements. No, we're required by the ground lease to provide a plan to the city. And part of the reason why we're trying to push forward on this now is the city's fiscal year, if I'm not correct, ends October 31st. Am I correct?
End of September.
End of September 30th. So we're coming up close on that time. That's the logical time to do a transition, and that's what we build into the ground lease. But in between then, our client's got to do a lot of due diligence with respect to the course. They've spent a lot of time and effort in getting to where we're at today, but that's not close to what they're going to have to do in due diligence and coming up with a plan and saying, okay, city, here's what we're going to do. This is our plan for the next 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. There's a lot of work to be put into it. And what we can't do is take this down to summer and all of a sudden our time frame for getting everything put together before we try to take over, if the ground lease was approved by October 1st, is so tightly compressed that it doesn't allow us to do what we need to do. If I can just address a couple real quick things. Commissioner Carlisle, you made a comment that, lease it for $1, then they're going to come back to you for more money. we have no right under the ground lease to do that. They are going to assume 100% financial responsibility. There's no give backs. Hey, can you lop up, $250,000 to us this year in the budget? Not at all. It's our responsibility, only our responsibility. And then Commissioner Avery, there's nothing that will change with the ground lease and that being a golf course. The only thing that changes is that the city won't have the financial responsibility for it. It'll still be a course that everyone in the city of Sebring can use, that tourists can use, that visitors can use. Nothing there changes whatsoever. What changes is we take that financial burden off the city. There was a statistic Robert reminded me that I didn't bring out that it's kind of interesting. There's 1,310 golf courses in the state of Florida. 131 are operated by a municipality or other governmental entity. So kind of tells you there's a reason behind that. The city is not set up necessarily to run a golf course. Golf courses that are municipally owned typically have some form of subsidy, significant subsidy. We're trying to take that away, maintaining the integrity of the course, maintaining the asset to the community, but taking away the burden so that you can take those dollars and put them elsewhere into your budget and provide other things for the citizens.
Mr. Sykes, can you go back to that? I just want to make it really clear on this too, or I want to have a better understanding. What do you mean by the city's not coming out of pocket $1 out of all this, if we agree with this contract
So
as presented?
if the lease is signed, the tenant, the Blackmans, are responsible for all costs and expenses associated with it. Taxes, insurance, operating costs, improvements, everything. They are 100% responsible.
I guess with the golf course, but I guess I just want to make it clear too, based on my understanding of this contract too, we just spent how much money on tractors and mowers and equipment very recently. So if you take over responsibility, that means we're going to have to come out of pocket as a city to build a new facility, and we're going to have to buy new equipment to maintain Max Lawn. Am I understanding that right? So, I mean, it might not be a cost out of the city's pocket on the golf course, but we also have other costs associated with this deal as presented. Again, I don't want to get into the details of all of this too, but I think that's just something important to know. I don't think that's
Harrison,
really
I
right as
think
presented.
what you're talking about is, like Josh said, a workshop would be, so we can discuss all of this. But you're right, we'd have to build a new maintenance building, buy equipment for the ball field. So you're still talking $400,000 or $500,000, Anyway, I think we need to do the workshop.
And you're right.
I think we're gonna move into hearing from the public right now.
Okay.
We've beat this thing up.
Yeah.
So, Jeff, you're first up there.
Just because I'm always a glutton. And for the record, Mr. Shanker brought some really nice friends with him in that limousine. So
Two blonde bombshells.
the first thing, I guess, from that I hadn't even thought about until this meeting was I would like to, Mr. Swain and Clerk Haley, make an official public records request for who did the handshake 3 years ago or beyond, because it's my understanding that it takes 3 members of this council to approve anything. So I'd like to know who that was. And if there, as Councilman Mendel pointed out, there's some documentation or evidence of that, I'd like to know who gave them that
If she
impression
can
that they
present
could.
the documentation that she's talking about, that would be really great, because
Yeah, I'd love to see that. So if it exists, I'm making an
doesn't.
official public records request for whatever that is to tell me who made that public records, who made that handshake agreement.
It doesn't exist.
I mean, Ms. Mendel alluded to seeing something that.
Well,
made her
I
think-
have just heard from the beginning of when I got on that was going to be the movement. I've heard it from different ones that was the possibility.
I've never heard that in a public meeting, but the public meeting you did state that you saw evidence. So I'd like to see whatever that is, please. Max Long, thank you for bringing that up. That's a great point. All of the maintenance for Max Long comes out of that facility. It's also my understanding, and maybe I'm wrong, that the deed restricted use is recreational, not golf. Is that correct?
That's correct.
It's a recreational use. It does not state that it has to be a golf course. So that's very important as you move forward, that there are other options that you could consider utilizing that particular facility for. Also, maybe council's not aware of this. I'm sure Mr. Natelick is. Around 03, 02, we did a comprehensive watershed study for Lake Haven Estates, including the golf courses. All the neighborhood people that lived on Little Lake Jackson were consistently complaining about the water quality in Little Lake Jackson. And what we found is that the drainage ditch that runs along Golfview drops off right before Golfview. I think hole number 1 or 10, I'm not really sure. There's a flock pond there, and we partnered with Swift Mud to actually put that there, to clean the water going into Lake Jackson. So the water doesn't drain, most of it does not drain to the north toward the lake. It drains toward Little Lake Jackson through that ditch. So that's an important part of this and should be part of any workshop that you have. Maybe something to think about as a condition this on completion of the hotel. I know we want to get it started, and there is some performance in keeping it that way, but if they're tied together and we work out some sort of amicable deal for everyone, that would be pretty good. And the last thing I wanted to point out is that one of the reasons why the city's in the recreation business is to make it affordable for those who cannot afford to go to Stream Song and play golf. So as much as I would love to see Stream Song in our beautiful town, I think we also need to take that into consideration, and whatever you put in there, that youth baseball or youth golf through Youth Sertoma and other things utilize that course significantly. And I think that's an important consideration to continue as well, that the affordability factor is one of the reasons why the city's in any of its recreational uses, from parks to ball fields to anything else. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Berna Flexen, and I had a question for Mr. Plat. There's a golf course behind Harter Hall. Is that just not available? Did you consider it, or I was wondering because I've seen it. It's fallen apart, and I was wondering if maybe that was an alternative or an addition, or what's going on with it. I have no idea. I know if they made it into a development, the people who bought property and they had golf course are probably pretty bummed right now. But I'm sure you know what's going on. I don't. So.
Yeah, that's the former Harter Hall golf course that was established in the 50s, but that's the one we attempted to piece back together when we went under contract on the hotel. It was split into 4 pieces. We were able to buy one small piece of it adjacent to the hotel property. It's about a 2-acre parcel, but the other 2 pieces, the main ones, we weren't able to get either person. Well, they'd already gone to new owners. That's what I was saying, because the former owner of the old Harter Hall course had closed it because it wasn't making money. So, but there was development potential for it. So that's how that happened. And then just real quick on the last speaker, yeah, there's no public records or anything. It was just when we had one-on-ones, everybody seemed on board with it. And that's why I was saying we should, try and bring it forward. But that was just one-on-one meetings we had called, starting 2 years ago. And then we agree about the affordability too, but you'll even see that the course has just increased its rates to compete with some of the other courses because it's losing money. So we want to keep it affordable. We just want the quality enhanced. That's all. So, but I appreciate the question.
All right.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. You've been waiting patiently back there.
Thank you all. Name's Gina Ramage, live in Lake Placid. Okay. We play in a group every Sunday. There's 2 or 3 groups, so 8 to 12 people. Okay. We rotate golf courses. We would never play at the Muni. It wasn't worth my time. I get to play 1 time a week, and we would never play there because I didn't want to waste my 1 day a week that I get to play golf at the Muni the way it was. We have now added that into the rotation. This course is turned around. So it was like the ball washers were just trash. The towels looked like they were chewed by rats. The greens were terrible. And that has now changed. We are playing at a municipal golf course that we love to go to now. So, along with the golf course, one thing that was briefly mentioned was that the ball fields and the soccer field look better than ever. Okay? So there's more to it than just this golf course. But, kind of what the discussion I heard here earlier was, that the municipal golf course can still bring people to Harter Hall. For PGA fans here, the Torrey Pines is a host of 2 U.S. Opens. It is a municipal golf course. I am sure that the hotels around that golf course are flourishing. We have a chance here to bring people to Harter Hall, and you know, it's a municipal golf course. It's something that we can afford to play. All right, we can't afford $100 rounds to play golf. So this is something that I really do believe we really ought to bring the discussion to and keep this in city control. It would help out the locals. You know, we live here, and once again, we're from Lake Placid. There's one course on Lake Placid, and it's not very good. So we do come to Sebring and Avon Park to play golf. And we have been, our group has been going to the Muni. We would like to keep going to the Muni, be able to afford affordable golf, and also, once again, you know, I can't stress enough, Torrey Pines, a great golf course, is a municipal golf course. So we can still make this a great golf course and still bring people to the city of Sebring and to Harter Hall.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yes, sir.
Council, my name is Victor DeVitro for the record. I just had a couple of thoughts. Some of them have already been expressed. One was looking at the employees of the city that have been working so hard on the golf course. I know that horse has been beat to death, but that was one of my original thoughts on this issue when I heard about it, is to have them go to all that work and then say, there you can go. The second piece is a little closer to home. One of my very good friends, Gabrielle and Sonia Mendoza, leased the restaurant, the Caddy Shack. They've been tenants for 18 years. I don't know that the city has had any tenant anywhere for 18 years. And they have paid their rent on time. And this comes out kind of at the last second and says, oh, by the way, in September, your lease is done. And it's being turned over to someone else. That seems a little concerning to me. That doesn't show loyalty. I mean, certainly we appreciate all that the Blackmans have done in the county and that they're going to continue to do. But to turn your back on a local that's been paying you rent for 18 years just seemed it didn't seem very professional. So that's kind of my thoughts on it, and I'll let you guys get back to it.
To clarify on that, I don't think the lease says that their proposed lease says they would terminate it at September 1st, does it?
Somewhere in the lease it states that their lease is up in September, and it says in that lease that a renewal can't be issued prior to.
We can extend it for 1 year, but other than that, it would need the Blackman's approval as the tenant.
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, for the record, Sonia Mendoza, part owner of the Caddy Shack with my husband, Gabrielle Mendoza. As I came up to basically say the same thing he did, and since 2006, we've roughly paid $250,000 in rent. We've never been late. As a matter of fact, we always prepay our rent for the summer. February, I'm paying June, till it's paid up throughout the summer till October. So therefore, if we do have a slow summer, our rent is paid. You've never had an issue. I think you've had to replace a roof and do some painting on the outside. We very much take care of the inside. Right in slap dab in the middle of COVID, we had to put in a brand new unit, $12,000. which we paid for, which we can't take when we go. So to give us 18 months when we've been there, established in the community, we do things for the community, nothing compared to what this gentleman can do, obviously, for the community. I love the fact that someone's coming back and restoring Harter Hall, et cetera, et cetera. Don't want to beat a dead horse, but however, as owner of a restaurant, we have things on the inside that we'd love to do. We need to do some upgrades. We need to change the carpets. We need to do this. We need to do that. However, I wouldn't spend a dime if I'm only going to be there for another 18 months. We need a little more assurance as to our future, as well as our employees. We employ 32 people who are all very upset. Do we tell them go find a job, cut our own throats? Or do we tell them, for now you have a job, but only for 18 months? So I think in concluding to what you want to do with your golf course, and I get it, you're losing money there. You don't lose money with us. I understand it's a package deal. I think it's pretty unfair that after being there since 2006, we were never offered first option to buy the restaurant if it can be sold separately. That's always a thought. That's always on the table. I'd like that to be known that we are more than willing to buy the restaurant at a fair price, because $1 is a slap in the face to not only the city, but to us as tenants that have been there since 2006. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Gabriel Mendoza, owner of the Caddy Shack. Been there for 18 years, like my wife said. But it's been $750,000 that we have paid for 18 years in rent. And like she said, you never have problems with us. All that you do is change the roof and put some paint on the wall. That's it outside. All that is that. We pay ahead. We currently employ 30 people. The golf course employs 22 people. So by you guys taking a decision, you probably are gonna affect 55 families.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Joey Lang. For the record, I grew up a Navy brat and I'm an Air Force veteran. And I've never lived anywhere more than 2 years. And you get used to packing up and leaving every couple of years. But March 22nd of this year, I will have lived in Sebring with my wife for 3 years. It's been pretty awesome. This is the first place that we consider our home. Councilman Havery, I really appreciate the fact that you say our tax dollars go to have things to do. I didn't choose to move here because of a resort. And I thank God for the municipal golf course, because I don't consider some of the folks sitting here family. Or friends. I consider them family. This course means a lot to a veteran. It means a lot to the community. And I think if we make it a resort, it becomes one more place that locals evaporate November through May. It becomes one more place that isn't ours. Keep this course ours. Keep this course a municipal course. It is the heart and soul for a lot of people, and it's become the heart and soul for me and my wife. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I'm Dr. Pinson. I'm a kidney doctor in this community. I've been here for 30 years, and I had the pleasure to meet Gabriel and his wife and enjoy their company as friends, and also enjoy their food. I think that you guys are going through like having a patient in ICU. I don't want to be on your shoes and trying to make the decision about this. I think that this is something that needs to be analyzed and studied carefully. This golf course and this restaurant means a lot for the community. Okay, there's no another place in Highlands County where the locals go like they go to the Caddy Shack. It's a very deep institution for us. Okay, is also a source of jobs for a lot of people in the community. Gabriel has a very good knowledge of this community, and he does things that are out of what he will do. What I'm trying to say is I saw him sending food to the police department. When we were going to COVID, that we were in ICU, this man is so concerned about the community. He's sending food to the nurses and doctors in ICU and in different parts of the hospital. I think that you guys have the duty to protect the small businesses. Physicians, we're dying right now. We don't have solo practice because everything is monopolized. Yes, we need a regular practice of health. The black man are doing too, but whatever effort you put together, you have to protect the small fish. If you put a golf course that is a first-class golf course there, how many of us we're going to be able to go and play on that golf course? It's going to be, like Joey said, it's going to be a zero for us. We're going to need to look somewhere to see what we're going to do. Small restaurants are dying. I always say that small restaurants is something that we need to protect because that's where you can go and have a different type of food that is not monopolized and is not produced on a chain. And sometimes the restaurants are better. And sometimes people go to places to eat on small restaurants that create the community, creates the ambience, creates the food culture, and that's a place to protect. Okay, so please measure your steps well, protect the community, protect the small fish. If something, you should act. This entrepreneur that also is coming with a very good idea for the community to find a common sense with that and to provide you guys with the security that they're going to be some cushion for that type of business and for those that we use the golf course.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Austin Armstrong. I would like to voice my opinion as a golfer, a taxpayer of Highlands County, and just the experiences that I've had at Harter Hall. Played there many, many times. I've also played every course in Highlands County. I played courses across the whole state of Florida, and I also have experience truly working at a golf course, maintenance, greens, taking care of everything. The Muni is never, for at least my opinion, one of the top courses in Highlands County. Yes, the renovations recently has made it much better, but also most courses in Highlands County are also renovating to keep up and to make play better and better as much as they can. Recent renovations to Country Club, Spring Lake, Sun and Lake, everything is always improving. So not only would Muni have to keep improving upon the renovations that have been done recently, but they'd have to put a lot more money to keep up with the rest of Highlands County. With my experience of working at a golf course, I know for a fact that the Muni of Torrey Pines is paying their employees much better than the Muni here in Sebring is. Working at golf courses, I'm sure if this were a renovated, much nicer resort style golf course, the jobs in Highlands County would be a better quality at the Muni than they currently are. I'm sure pay raises would be a lot better. Base salaries would be a lot better than the city is willing to pay their current employees now, even with the risks of losing some long-term perks or benefits. I have children. Sertoma does play at Muni, but Sertoma also plays in a lot of other golf courses here in Sebring and Highlands County. I would love to see my kids play at a better Muni, something that is better quality, put a lot more money than possibly the city is willing to put in, especially with hearing about the loss of a profit that the Muni is currently doing. And as a taxpayer, that concerns me as well. Almost $500,000 in loss in 2023. That's where some of my tax money is going to protect that loss. I would love to see that be gone. Obviously, I do not know all the details of the business and the lease agreement, and it sounds like there does need to be a lot of things fixed, but I just want to give my opinion as a golfer, resident, and taxpayer that I would absolutely love to see this become a resort style golf course. Yes, that would make some of the members there have to possibly pay a little bit more. I've played every course here. I know that there is very affordable options in the community other than Muni. So I just wanted to give my voice of opinion of that as a golfer and resident of Highlands County. Thank you.
Good evening, Council. Leanne O'Donnell, for the record. First of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Blackman here. I live at Little Lake Jackson. We built our home 3 years ago on Little Lake Jackson. We get up in the morning, we see the lake. We see everything that you've done. We're very, everyone in our neighborhood is moved by you. But I just have a question actually for the council or for Mr. Havery. Who's willing to maintain the cost to run the golf course? Say that Mr. Blackman does not obtain the property. Do we have an answer for that? Who's willing?
The
Who's
city
willing?
would continue to pay for it as it has.
As it has, okay. Also, what guarantee do we have, the residents, or that it will thrive if the golf course goes through? I mean, maintaining it as it is. What guarantee do we have that it's going to make more money for us?
There's really no guarantee.
Yeah.
I mean, you
I don't
can't
think-
say, we'd like to see it make money if we're continuing it, and they're working hard at doing it.
Of course, and
But there's no guarantee to say that it's gonna make money or lose money, so.
exactly. So, I just feel like that, the resort is going to be wonderful, but the golf course attached to it would be even better. I understand that because the city has maintained it and it is employees that are keeping it well done. And I appreciate Fred, what he's done for it and everything, but it's just a question that the people around in Little Lake Jackson have as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. There's nothing else. Does anybody else from council have anything else to say? Does anyone have a motion they would like to propose?
Go for it. I'd like to make a motion that we schedule a workshop with the Blackmans and City Council to discuss this and any other options in detail as soon as it's convenient for you.
I'll second.
Okay. You can pull the board, please.
Carlisle.
Yes.
Avery.
Yes.
Mendel.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Bishop.
Yes. All right, so we will schedule a workshop and figure out a pathway forward. All right. I'll give everybody a minute to vacate, and Jared, it's your time to shine, buddy. I thought everybody came here to see you, man.
I thought so too. A little disappointed.
Just so everybody knows, the Caddyshack has great food. I said they have great food out there.
Yeah.
Not gonna go line item by line item, are we?
I am. All three
No, I think he's saying all night.
I gotta go to the restroom, I'll be right back tomorrow.
We need this to be like the millage approval meetings. 45 seconds.
I'm sorry, it will not be that. But I will definitely make it as quick as possible.
All right, go ahead.
All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Jared Lee, Budget and Grants Coordinator, for the record. And I am putting on my best attempt at being a legislative analyst for tonight. So I presented you all in your packets some of the bigger state bills that are being looked at by the House and the Senate and that have a direct impact on you all and on our residents. So I kind of want to get a consensus of anything that we need to respond to send with Councilman Havery when he goes and visits Monday through Wednesday, I think,
Yep.
and
It's a
tries
diplomat
to
now.
get some help.
If anybody else wants to take my spot, it's not too late.
Thank you for doing this.
You can't back out now.
I understand.
I would,
You need to take him with you.
I'm a little unclear on the CRA one. I don't really know. They're just trying to abolish them all by 2045.
It
I'm
eliminates
not-
the creation
I'm not
of new
educated on
ones, sunsets all the existing ones,
in 2045 or
or their
Depends.
first whatever their first renewal date would be.
Okay.
You would not be able to renew.
I think ours was extended to 49 or 45.
So my understanding is that all CRAs statewide have to sunset by 2045 as
Right.
it stands now. What the current double set, because there were 4 sets that have been proposed. One of them has been totally eliminated, and it was actually a benefit to the CRA and to the city. So go figure. The 2 as they stand now would you cannot issue. Sorry, wait. All by 2045 dissolved. You will have no new CRAs after July 1
of this year.
period of this year. And no new projects or debt after 10-1.
So, what is the definition of a project?
So they just did an amendment Friday
This year funds.
to define that. So anything that is currently in a CRA budget for this year will be able to be continued. If it's not in this year's budget, you cannot do it.
Okay, that feels problematic.
Can that budget be amended before 10-1 and then classified as in this budget year?
Not an expert on it, but I don't see why not. I
But-
don't think it says in your adopted.
I'm
I
sure
think
that's
it
in the
says-
recording, so.
That's what we would have to spend a little bit more time on to understand. Like I said, the amendment, I just saw it yesterday morning,
So,
and
so by that reasoning, then basically future CRA funds what would happen to them? They would just sit in account and.
well, so by definition with CRA funds, they're supposed to go back to the responding agencies, the county and the city, that are unspent at the end of every year.
So they would pay their debt service and refund the rest.
Well, they could do their debt service. We have facade grants already established.
Okay.
Anything that's established now, so you
Okay.
could continue.
So their
on,
small
the
grant
staff can
programs
still- right.
would continue.
You know, you still have, I don't know, it'd be kind of difficult because there's still building improvement money budgeted. So they could still work to do improvements. The way I'm reading it, our city attorney will be able to do this better once this goes through. It is passing. It has moved through the first couple of committees. So it's looking like it's going to go. Not for sure, but if this is something you all want us to target,
Yes.
then that's what I will put in as part of that target.
So I think that, and then we have the, property tax dissolution. Ad valorem tax, I think we need to, I don't know how that's gonna happen,
So-
but that's 20% of our income, so.
Correct. The biggest ones that are 20% of our income or more, the big guys aren't getting any traction yet.
How about
So
the utility services one?
Right.
utility services has. It is moving, and
And so to clarify on that one, we don't transfer anywhere near 10% of our budget already, but it's the extraterritorial
the extraterritorial
surcharge
caps at
because we're at 40
25%.
and this would reduce it. Okay.
So that'll reduce it to what we're,
We-
or
we're
or
gonna
we
lose
increase the
about-
cities to equal what the counties are doing in the county.
Well, what they're building in is a
Try to
25%
agree.
increase. Us reducing down to that 25% would be about a $1.4 million hit. But the problem with you couple that with there's a couple of expenditure items in the utilities side that would absolutely be budget killers on top of the loss of revenue to utilities. Like, we have to basically inspect every single lateral we have within the next 7 years, and you would have to fix any found issues within a year of finding that issue.
Talking about a pile of money.
I personally don't, I have an issue with the ADU one as well.
Yeah, ADU basically takes every single bit of control you guys have for an ADU and throws it out the window.
Right.
So
Which means
everybody who
everybody's got
has
an Airbnb
problems-
in their backyard.
Airbnb
Right.
in their backyard. The owner doesn't have to live there.
Yeah.
They're now struck out because there was an affordability component to it. That's now been struck out. So it's not about affordable housing anymore in that one. It's about,
It's an Airbnb bill.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
That property tax exemption increase too is gonna be a,
Right, 100,000.
Mm-hmm.
especially
So-
in smaller communities where, you know, if you're in Miami or something where the average house is 2.2 million for a 2-bedroom, 1 bath, compared to what it is here in Highlands County, I think that's where it's gonna.
And that's really what's targeting is your big cities, your coastal cities. A lot of us, since we're involved with the Florida League of Cities, their big component and their big factor is most of us, our ad valorem doesn't cover our public safety.
Right.
Our ad valorem doesn't cover our full police budget. So in essence, you're cutting your police departments by cutting ad valorem. And, you know, our property appraiser has increased values to try to match, but he has kept it better than what some of these coastals have done. So we're going to see a massive negative effect. I mean, I pulled his data and ran some analysis, and it absolutely destroys us. It's about 40% loss in revenue. But I will say it's not making any traction at this point on that. So if you're kind of working down there, the ADU we just talked about, tort limits is a big one. We're looking at, for the pool that we're in, it's a $5.7 million hit annually. By increasing the levels of when somebody wants to sue us, we're capped. This is basically doubling and tripling those caps because they haven't been raised in a few years. But we're going to absorb a massive hit in our liability insurance.
What do we know roughly what that might look like as far as
That's exactly
our actual costs? Okay.
$100,000 real property tax exemption. With that one, it's school board, county, city, and it's every single building and property there is. It's not just on homesteads, and it's on top of homestead. So you would probably get probably over 50% of the county will pay zero property tax.
So it would just force us to go to non-ad valorem methods and increase millage.
But you're limited in what you can do non-ad valorem for. So if you go down the bottom of my important list, Senate Bill 852 is a study on the elimination of property taxes. This is where it seemed like they were going to go, which really it's just a study.
Yeah.
They want to be able to take away property taxes and then fund some other way. Increase sales tax, the dreaded income tax, whatever. They don't even know if it's viable. But it would just be a study to look at it. And again, it's had zero movement in either house, or the House or the Senate. Local business tax, I know that's kind of contentious. The current bill exempts fiscally constrained counties, so we're not impacted yet. But what it basically will do is create an administrative nightmare that basically nobody's gonna want to do.
That's a pretty small percentage of our budget. It's like $50,000 in revenue.
But if
right?
you're going to cut $1 million here, cut $1 million there, I was watching the Ways and Means Committee, I think it was the other day, and one of the comments was, "What are we trying to do to our municipalities? Death by 1,000 paper cuts." Because really, that's what it's boiling down to: is this cut, this cut, this cut, and if we don't have like that diversified source.
Well, some of these feel more like gunshots than paper cuts. But,
Dangerous to bullet.
Live local is
Well,
a
I'm outta
big
here.
one going on. There's about, I don't know, 8 to 10 bills that if somebody comes to you guys and says live local, you're not going to stop it. It just really, I don't know. A lot of it is redevelopment. So one of them, if you take a building on the circle and renovate it to a charter school to help with overcrowding in schools and all that kind of stuff, you can't control parent pickup and drop off in the street. It's what it's coming down to. So they could potentially block all of the circle for parent pickup and drop off, and you can't stop it. They're very far-reaching, broad-ranging, a lot of charter school stuff that ties in with Live Local. If somebody wants to take a hotel that's out of, I mean, they could take Harter Hall and turn it into affordable housing, and you can't do anything about it. And that's where a lot of these are coming from. It's limiting your control and your citizens' voices. It takes public hearings out of some of these things. It's all over the place. I got a thing on Senate Bill 1128. Basically says that somebody could then go and build a 6-story apartment complex next to a house, and you can't stop it. Now, I don't know how far that one goes with that, but that's what it said. So that's really kind of where, I mean, there's some funding increase, there are funding decreases there, expense increases in places, loss of control over where you guys can keep control. And you're watching you guys with the earlier zoning and future land use. They're getting to the point, I think there's one of them in there that if they tried to do like maybe a multifamily under Live Local and you tried to stop it, then they could sue you.
Wait, Jerry, go back to the one above it. Interest in RPCs.
Which number?
HB 1125. 1246.
Oh, eliminating regional planning councils.
Yes. What would that require us to do? Hire an in-house planner?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, honestly, it would create a massive extra cost for us in terms of what we do with planning and zoning.
Presumably a loss of expertise because we have to hire our own and hope they're
And try to find
they're
one.
good. Yeah.
Hire our own or contract with a planner.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I got no.
No wonder we were hanging around for.
So, I don't know how much of the property tax assessments you guys want to get into, given the fact that they are kind of going slow. It's kind of hard at this point. I mean, they still have about 5-6 more weeks of session. I think we're just past 4. We're coming up. No, I take that back. We're on 3, so we're going into 4, which is halfway. They only have 2 months this year. I'll tell you one of the scariest ones that could be coming would be HB 1211 and 1554. And it's the consolidation of law enforcement. Currently, it's looking at first step of consolidating E911, which we've already done here, which is fine. It's not everywhere. But the end result of this bill is to do a study to consolidate all law enforcement across the state of Florida into one state department.
So would that mean that we lose control over local police?
Their reporting structure would have them report to state government.
Would it
How that works and how
Okay.
that's going to work.
I would say, would that eliminate the municipal police department, where it's all sheriff now,
It
or?
would
It's all state.
Okay.
Well, yeah, does it eliminate
Everyone
county
would be a
too?
state
Wow.
trooper.
Yeah, everybody. Yeah,
That feels like that's probably
it would
not
be
gonna fly.
regional offices. So I don't. Again, that's like future and far-reaching. It's just one of the ones that I see coming that could be pretty scary in terms of having that local presence and that local authority. On a more positive note, House Bill 1427, Senate Bill 110 is supposed to add another couple $100 million to fiscally constrained counties. On your sheets, I put what Florida League of Cities like stance is on these things, so you can see oppose or support or monitor, improve. They've got this one as a monitor simply because there are direct allocations to the counties, but not to the municipalities. And they're trying to see if they can get that changed. Otherwise, this is a really good bill. It's really helpful to us and gives us a lot of opportunity for funding to fix some things that need to be fixed infrastructure-wise. So absolutely would love to see support for that, because I don't want to go all negative. But I also like to see hey, can you, you know, help us out too? So, I don't know if you guys have some key bills you want me to look at. You see that list. If you have specific questions on what's moving, I kind of could do that pretty quickly and easily. I try to, like I said, keep the biggest spotlights, which is kind of in league with the Florida League of Cities in terms of what their spotlights are, with some additions that I thought were more pressing for us. Emergency management, 1535. They're very much opposed to. It moved today through its first committee. Again, nothing in finance and taxation that I have listed is moved. The housing planning, and I'm on page 2. I'm sorry if I kind of skipped that part. Most of you looked like you were there. Housing and planning, that's not going anywhere. Land use, House Bill 569 is the charter bill, so like you can't deal with traffic concerns. House Bill 579 would do some stuff with your building permits, development permits, and some new time frames that are in there. The other page or section, House Bill 651. That's Representative Tuck's bill. There's not much in there that's bad. There is a couple of good things, but it's also a loss of control over any ag land that we might have in the city that for certain purposes. So it's not really bad for us, but it's not super great. House Bill
Meaning that
683.
someone could operate a farm in the city limits.
Well, if it's already an ag land, they could kind of do what they wanted to with it, especially if it was something educational and you wouldn't have any kind of opportunity to control access or what they built or how they built, or
If it was already zoned ag.
it has to already be
Correct.
zoned ag for this to take effect.
So
It's-
someone
it's-
could open a chicken farm.
With maybe 600 chickens
Downtown.
and 100 sheep. Oh, God. Uh,
We got old tennis courts over here we could do that on.
Yeah.
All right.
683, real quick. That's actually Senator Grawl's bill. There's just some stuff in there for building. Both of those bills are like very comprehensive and there's a lot to it. So, HB 717 on page 3, you guys might want to look at too. It actually increases fines if somebody demolishes a structure on the National Register, which I don't know that applies anymore, but increased fines. The public safety section, Senate Bill 1022, has movement and actually gives you more fine and more control over public nuisances. So something that could be helpful. Stormwater, here's where it kind of gets bad. SB 810. Annual inspection of your stormwater system every year. In-depth annual inspection. And then utilities, House Bill 1187 is the comprehensive condition assessment within the next 7 years and fix each problem within a year as you find them. And there's no funding for this.
On Senate Bill 1416, are we gonna have to change our election days?
Yes. Yes, you will no longer be allowed to have
3
anything that
years
the
in
charter
March.
says. You'd have to go with state.
State.
Yeah.
When would that take effect if it passes?
Not sure.
Does that mean I'm
I would
locked, I'm locked
assume-
in for another year, whether I like it or not?
Probably.
Okay.
Like I said, just looking for some kind of direction. If you have any specific questions on those, like I said, I'll do my best. Figure just run through them real quick.
Good job, Jared.
Yeah.
I like this.
The unfortunate problem is it changes. Like what I have now is completely different from what you all have in terms of where they are, what they're doing, and what's out there. So, CRA seems to be a spot you all would like to conversation is approach with them.
I think that would probably be devastating to our downtown,
Yeah.
or at least the direction it's going. Yes.
Right.
I'm of course, the one that reduces our extraterritorial service, yeah, right, service charges on utilities is a big deal. I feel like that gets proposed every single year.
Yeah, they call it a zombie bill.
Does that mean it's not going to go anywhere?
Just keeps coming back. If they don't pass it this year, they'll come back next year. Who knows?
Okay.
But absolutely.
And then I think you mentioned the $100,000 property tax exemption. Is that moving, or does that feel
It's not
dead?
moving. It's there.
Okay.
But it might
And
be
the ad valorem side of it too.
all the ad valorem.
Yeah, all of those would be,
A generalized statement.
yeah,
For the
you'll,
ad valorem
it
impacts.
will destroy local cities.
Developments, ADUs, live local. Any of those.
I mean, the ADU thing is a big deal to me. I don't know if anybody else cares about it,
I
but
think it's a big deal if you sit next to one.
Yeah, if it's next, the party house is next to you, then it
Not,
is.
not in
Right.
my backyard.
yeah, right. I mean, that would be a big
Well,
deal to me.
And just to kind of caveat into that, if you guys are looking at wanting to do anything with your short-term rentals, we have nothing really. And they're gonna limit that pretty soon. They've tried last year, they're trying again this year. And whatever you don't have it on the books basically, you're gonna be out of luck.
So we need to update our ordinances to
Look at that.
regulate them.
They have prohibited, that's been the position for several years now, that if you had it on the books, basically before they started allowing, then you could keep it, but and we did not. So
Right.
we've not been able to come in and make changes now. But I definitely will look at that.
Yeah, I know something passed last year specifically. I just can't remember if it limited it or completely killed it. Does anybody else want to chime in on ADUs specifically?
Pretty self-explanatory.
Do you want to make it a priority for you all?
I think that's a good idea.
Especially since the racetrack promotes a lot of short-term rentals.
That's what your mom was here for.
She left too early then.
Any other concerning bills?
I mean, everything that you have in your spotlight
say,
is
yes.
concerning to me.
Yeah, it's all concerning.
I don't want to hit them with, I'm trying to do like maybe a one page. These are important elements to try to highlight to them.
Well, that's only a third of the page.
I can make it work. But to that end, would you want to get into local business tax? Because I mean, it is on that list and it doesn't really impact us.
I'm not
I
a
know
fan of
somebody's
the
really
local
not-
business tax anyway, you know? You could change it to support, and I'll be okay with that. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm not
but-
telling that to you. You can tell him that. Okay. So you want me to try to target basically what's on spotlights? I can do that.
Yes,
I
I
think
think
that's
that's a good idea. Thank you, Jared, for doing this. I mean, this is unbelievably helpful. There's so much going on, and to track all of this, I don't know how you're tracking 1,900 things. I know with FLC,
nope,
and
not 1900.
you don't give yourself enough credit.
Yeah, I'm not even that far. I think the league's got 500, and I utilize a lot of what they do, and basically have targeted down to about maybe 50 that I'm just trying to keep an eye on.
Okay.
Good job.
Thank you for the feedback.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you all.
Appreciate it.
Be up
What do you
there
do
for
in
a
your spare time?
Nope.
Sleep.
5 days too many.
What's the time frame?
Getting
on
ready for
moving
budget.
these- What's the time frame for moving these things forward?
So, and I'm learning this
Right.
kind of as we're going. Everything was supposed to have been filed by the beginning of the month, every
Right.
bill, and that didn't happen because they're still filing. Every bill is referenced to standard is 3 committees or in the House subcommittees. Sometimes, depending on if it's a priority for the presidents of both sides, or the Speaker of the House and the President of the Senate, they'll get 2. Senate Bill 110, which deals with the fiscally constrained counties, is a priority of the 2 leaders. So it gets 2. Then if it's not one of their priorities and they really don't want to see it, they'll assign them to 4 different committees or references. And then so they have to work their way through every single reference they're given to be able to make it to the floor. So some of the things you'll see just a Senate bill, some of them are just a House bill. Those tend to not do so well because they need a companion bill. Now they can still happen, but it takes some extra work. But so I think I've seen 2 of them that I'm tracking have made it through their committees, happen to be 2s, and are ready for the floor. And they're in their first or second reading. It's kind of like a public hearing. You got the 2 readings and then you can vote. Debates and things change along the way. So every one of these bills can have a chance for a rewrite, which some of them have done. Some of them have done addendum. Some of them have complete like strike and redo. But they got to make it through that general process of however many committees or subcommittees they're assigned to, and then voted on the floor. And then it has to go back to the other side for a vote on their floor as well.
If any of these spotlight bills got to where they're readings and make it through their subcommittees, would it be helpful for us to individually call our reps or?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell
Calls,
us if
letters.
any of these spotlight ones get to that point?
Senate Bill 110 is already there, which is kind of the one where it's helpful to us, but would be nice if we had direct allocations as a fiscally constrained county.
Okay. I think I already read about that one. That's the one that is a big deal for Paul Britton to push through. Okay. Well, that's a good one. But so if any of these that are devastating to us get close, can you alert us and let us know so we
Absolutely.
can make calls?
Well, and even that one, I mean, a call to Tucker, well, for this one to be Grawl, would be like, hey, this would be really great. We really like this, but it'd be
Okay.
nice if we could get some direct funding
Okay.
to the cities.
To amend to
municipalities. So I can
include
amend
municipalities.
because, like I said, they have direct funding under the county, just not the cities.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I can absolutely, as I get notice that they're reaching that point.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you all.
All right.
Thank you, Derek.
All right. Moving on, we have no business from the audience. On to Mr. Attorney, if you wish. Okay.
Tom Mendel. I think the city, with these potential impacts, city really needs to consider things. You had in a negative budget on the golf course, $600,000 to go a long way towards offsetting some of these costs. We're looking at it on a long-term basis.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Swain.
You have a proposed plat on your agenda. That's agenda item 12A. Sparta Ministries Inc. owns Camp Sparta, which you may be familiar with. The land to the north between it and Sudan Mission Road was proposed for a higher intensity use that did not happen. So they went ahead and bought that buffer parcel, and they're now looking to plat and sell off some of that real property. This is a plat that would do 3 individual lots along Sudan Mission Road, and a 4th plat of this is just 20 acres of the overall property that they purchased. So these are, big lot, big tract platted lots. We are waiting for an updated Mylar, so if council were to favorably consider it, it would be to approve it contingent upon the receipt of the updated Mylar.
Okay.
How many total acres is that, Bob? I can't read that.
20 is what's being platted. They own more than that.
Right.
So it's like 3 point somethings, and then
10 acres.
10.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have any questions? Any questions from the public? I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the replat as presented contingent on receipt of the executed version.
Second.
All right, pull the board.
Hold on.
Yes.
Avery.
I will have to abstain. I'm the treasurer of Sparta Ministries.
Mendel. Mendel.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Bishop.
Yes. All right, moving on.
Agenda item 12B is a proposed ordinance entitled, An ordinance amending Chapter 23 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Sebring by requiring City Council approval for property located outside the city limits to connect to a city utility system and providing for an effective date.
All right. Anybody have any questions on this one?
Is this just changing the authorization to the city council from staff?
Yes, sir. So it have to be approved by city council, not just staff, and it has additional criteria that council could consider in making that decision over whether to allow a connection of outside city property to the city utility systems.
Anyone else?
I make a motion we approve.
Now, hold up. Any questions from the public?
Good evening. For the record, McGregor, Love 215 North Yola Drive in Orlando. I represent a group of property owners that are just outside the city that are concerned with the potential impact of this ordinance, and I wanted to raise it here, especially given that this is first reading for this ordinance, and it really centers around the scope of the authority that's granted to you under this ordinance. Now, this is an ordinance. Sorry, bill. It's a legislative update. There's an ordinance that concerns service outside of the city limits, and you're, as a city, not under any obligation to provide service to folks outside the city limits. You're not under the obligation to charge them the same rate as folks within the city. And you don't even have to pick. You don't just have to serve everyone outside the city limits in the same area. Now, all that being said, when you decide to serve property owners outside the city limits, what Florida law says is that you have to do so in a way that's fair, in a way that has what case law is referred to as definable criteria or classifications. And traditionally, in with utility service decisions, that concerns the existing capacity of that public facility and the impact of a use in terms of demand on that public facility, and that the two of those together determining your ability to serve existing and future residents or users of that facility. Now, the scope of the authority granted to you in this ordinance, I'll quote some of the language. It refers to all factors, including financial and economic implications, aesthetic and environmental concerns, the feasibility of a particular plan, and the effect of an extension on the municipality's long-range zoning, planning, or organization. Now, that's typically the scope of authority you get in a very subjective, let's say, comp plan amendment type of review. Within the scope of a utility extension, it's not an appropriate scope of authority. And really what that's aimed at is ensuring that it can be administered fairly to property owners or applicants that are outside the city limits. So those are our concerns with the scope of the authority granted. We wanted to raise them tonight. We know this is first reading. Thank you. For the record, I'm not the applicant, so I won't say that I can take questions, but those are our concerns with the ordinance as drafted.
We believe council can utilize the factors identified in this proposed ordinance to make these decisions. So we would encourage council to adopt it on first reading.
Okay. Anyone else?
I make a motion we approve proposed ordinance on first reading and schedule second and final reading April 1st, 2025.
Second.
Hold the board.
Yes.
Avery.
Yes.
Mendel.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Bishop.
Yes. All right, moving on to 13A. Mr. Natley.
Good evening, council. Agenda item 13A is a proposed road transfer between city, county, and FDOT. As you guys may remember, at least a couple years ago, we started talking about the potential to get control of State Road 17, especially downtown. What this would do would essentially give us control and maintenance of State Road 17 from US 27 all the way up to the parkway. And then eliminate or give to the state control of the parkway. Did I say parkway or state road 17? I did say state road 17, didn't I?
Yeah.
Anyways, and then give control of the parkway to the state, creating a uniform corridor, if you will. So you
Does
would
that then
exit-
make
you would
the
exit
parkway
27 I'm sorry.
State Road 17? Or-
Yep, that's
Okay,
what it would. Yeah, that's what the proposed transfer would do.
thanks.
Half of it would be State Road 17.
Right.
Is that gonna come with address changes?
I'm sorry.
Is that gonna come with address changes?
No, like Ridgewood is Ridgewood, but it's also State Road 17.
Okay, all right.
Your Parkway, right?
Yeah, gone through
Yeah,
one of
I'm
those
gonna
address
say
changes
I'm
already.
gonna say potentially it does come with address
They
change.
have the expansion of
All right.
the new
Right.
city bit.
So, and I also asked the state for, what it costs to maintain State Road 17 as it sits
Mhm.
from US 27 to the Parkway annually, and they gave me a number of about 79,000 a year. That's annual maintenance. That includes street lights, everything.
Sweeping.
Sweeping, yes, correct. So it's, kind of A to Z. What that doesn't include is any like infrastructure cost or improvements,
Repaving
like
or-
repaving, yeah, milling, repaving it, right? Now, on the flip side, the Parkway, we currently spend roughly $70,000 in a year in annual maintenance, and we're allocating $81,000 a year towards future
Mhm.
milling and repaving. if you will. So that's about $150,000. I'm not gonna come out and say that it's a wash, but it kind of looks close to a wash. I don't really know what the
Until you have to
milling and
repave
paving
4 lanes
of-
versus 2 lanes.
Right. Half the lanes and
Yeah.
probably much less traffic overall on
Right.
the ones we would acquire.
And the circle just got repaved.
Thank you.
So, DOT is looking for council's approval of this proposed transfer to move forward with our agreement or interlocal agreement between the two of us.
Didn't DOT get slated paving Ridgewood?
Yeah, so our understanding is, and they'll continue to honor this, is they're going to repave, I think, from Kenilworth all the way up State Road 17 into Avon Park. So they're going to mill and repave. That's
North and
in the
south.
schedule, I'm going to say, in the next 2 years to do.
Okay.
So in theory, we get, I don't want to call it a brand new road, but a brand new road. And will be part of the agreement is what's been laid out to us so far.
Yeah.
It lasts a while.
20 or 30 years.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, they've done that paving since we've been here, or since I've been here at the city. They did Kenilworth all the way around the circle, all the way out, straight up 17.
Okay. I can't believe it happened
Probably
this fast.
10, 12, 15 years ago.
I thought this was going to happen.
Well,
After I was
so what I will say is this doesn't. This is it's at least a year process from now.
Yeah.
But I think they indicated it could probably happen within, say, 15-month period.
Yeah.
If everything goes well.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Any questions from the public? All right. I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve proposed road transfer as presented.
Second.
Pull the board.
Carlisle,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Mendel,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Bishop.
Yes. All right. This project report's getting whittled down.
It is. I think materially, if we move all the way down to the bottom bullet point, purchasing a building and parking lot at 126 West Center, The phase one environmental's been completed. I think I sent you all an email with a link that would provide that
It was clean,
environmental report.
right?
1,157 pages.
I'm not busted
No, I
up
think
that.
it was a lot more than that. I think it was like, I want to say it was like 900 some pages. It was a big report. Anyways, having said that, it came back, I mean, their recommendation or executive summary was it's
No further
relatively
action.
clean. Correct.
So next is
That's-
elevators and AC.
So that environmental is, I'm gonna say, the property or land property, if you will, that phase one, that it's not necessarily. Although they did look
Asbestos.
inside, and they looked inside for diesel, oil.
Asbestos,
No, they
lead
didn't,
paint.
no, it doesn't include that.
When does that get checked for?
So we have some reports that were done by the prior owner that kind of indicated where there is asbestos in the building. So
Very
some of
minor,
those, we already have some of that information. Maybe the only other thing we might want to look at is maybe having a mold test done at some point. I did have a carrier come out. They gave us a ballpark figure for new chiller. What's outside is actually what they call, I'm going to say, an air pump. The chillers are actually in the building. And then the air handler. So air handler assembly down to the chillers, out to the air pump. Replacement of all that equipment's about $500,000. Still working on the elevator.
I think the building's too new to have lead paint on.
Yeah, it's 75. So I don't think there was any indicate of lead paint. There was some report of some asbestos, like in asbestos tiles.
But if you just cover that
But
up,
if you cover that up right, if you encapsulate it, if you will,
you're good.
You're good with that.
You are.
Can you do that?
Yes, yeah. They do that houses all the time.
Oh, that's good.
They did it in one of the houses on HGTV.
All right.
Oh, really?
Actually, they did it at Salvation Army.
Good to know.
All right.
They put siding on it.
Bob has something else to add here.
Of the city's contract to purchase the Fryman Trust property, we'd ask for a motion to extend the due diligence period to April 11th, to allow us to get the last handful of things in from our due diligence work.
So moved.
Second.
April 11th, you said? I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
For the due diligence period.
I have the contract to sign that I should have signed earlier today. I forgot.
Shame on you.
I know.
Roland, just for the record, we pulled 8D. Is that just to pull it off completely or for discussion?
Pull it off.
Pull it off for tonight.
Yeah,
Okay,
pull it off.
just want to make sure.
We
We'll
may bring
readdress
it
it at a
back.
later
We
date.
may bring it back in the future.
Go ahead.
Carlisle,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Mendel,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Bishop.
Yes.
And I have one question on this. The Lakeview Water Sports Agreement, it was extended to March 4th. Has that been extended again? I just need it for the record because,
I don't believe they've taken any further action on it.
I mean, you just said that it was extended until March the 4th, so just.
Nothing further at the moment.
Nothing further.
Okay. Saley, you're up.
Okay, first thing before I do the bills, I have to officially announce the votes of the referendum that was on the ballot. There was 64 votes yes for approval and 82 no for rejections, which means that the referendum failed, which means the city clerk treasurer position stays as an elected position. Stays for now. Council needs to put the payment bill.
So moved.
Second.
Hold the board when you're ready.
Carlisle,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Mendel,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Bishop.
Yes.
I think we can drag it 6 more minutes if we want to make
Yeah.
it 3 hours.
Ms. Mendel, wish you the best. Your last one was a marathon.
Oh, I'm telling you.
I'll see you the next one.